It's time for MacBreak Weekly. Renee Ritchie has the week off. Doc Rock's sitting in for him, which is great. Alex, Lindsay, and Andy Ihnatko also here. It's the end of the line for the HomePod. Doc's got feels about that. We'll also talk about Adobe's Photoshop AI. They now support M1, and they've added an interesting new feature. We'll also talk about deep fakes, how to detect them, and how good they've become. It's all coming up next on MacBreak Weekly.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
This is MacBreak Weekly, episode 757, recorded Tuesday, March 16th, 2021. Leo, Warrior Princess. This episode of MacBreak Weekly is brought to you by IT Pro TV. Expand your skills or launch yourself into a career with IT at itpro.tv/MacBreak, and you'll get an additional 30% off all consumer subscriptions for the lifetime of your active subscription when you use the code MacBreak30 at checkout. And by Uber for Business. Right now, for a limited time, receive a $50 voucher when you create your first vouchers campaign and spend $200. Go to uber.com/MacBreak to learn more. It's time for MacBreak Weekly, the show where we cover the latest news from Apple, the Apple sauce, as it were. Alex Lindsay joins us from his lair at office hours. Hello, Alex Lindsay.
Hello.
I have to apologize to you because you are on the low and slow machine. We figured of all the people in the world, you could take it.
I'm getting handicapped.
You are.
Good.
So you would look so much better, but then you would put us all to shame. So we are replacing, we have 4, I guess I can't call them Skype machines anymore. They used to be Skype machines. For years it was Skypeosaurus. We'll now call it Zoomosaurus because thanks to you, Alex, I think we're going to be moving to Zoom. We tried OBS Ninja. There's something weird about our systems. It may be that once we get new Zoom machines on 3 and 4, we'll be all right. But the machine you're on is from 2009. It's kind of vintage.
We have pretty good machines at the office that we do the connections with, but they're Dell, actually Dells.
These are Dells. You're on a Dell.
We have these Dell
2009. You're a Dell.
Ours are 2020.
Yeah,
so
I think we're going to upgrade. Let's put it that way.
That sounds good.
We're buying 2 new ones. The others are only a couple of years old, so we figured those are probably all right. But it's CPU bound, I would guess. That has something to do with it.
CPU and GPU. It'll definitely take that into account.
Oh, tell Russell, John, we need a decent GPU, or is Intel Iris or whatever the new Evo is. That
I know the ones that we got had, I think, 1080 cards in them, or maybe 2080 cards in them. so I think that they.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah, they were real machines.
I'm gonna wait a minute. Let me slack Russell.
I mean, I can send you the link of what we use. It's probably overkill, but what we never wanted to do is explain to a client why their frame rate was low.
I mean, it's
whatever.
It is kind of our business.
Yeah, so I'm happy to send Russell the spec of what we use, and I got it just from. There's a guy named Jeff Keithley that we work with, and I just called him and said, "What do you use for your connection machines?" And he said, "This." I copied it because it's all he does is build these out on PCs because I'm not as PC aware.
I will, it's good to know that you use those Dells because that's pretty much what we use. That's kind of the stock machine that we use. Andy Ihnatko is also here, WGBH Boston. Hello, Andrew.
I've always favored a handicapping system like in pro golf where like Alex, who has like the 24K camera plus like the pro level like lighting system, he should be limited to like 360K bits and like 8 frames per second. Whereas people like me who just like order cheap consumer stuff off of Amazon, we should get just to even like the professionalism sort of score. Right now we're back into daylight savings time on or off, whatever it is. At least now I get like I can use like my natural sunlight as a fill light and maybe compete with like you and Renee and Alex. So this is why I'm like a 12 handicapper when it comes to like video streaming set quality. And you're basically a scratch golfer. So
I don't know how I got handicapped when I saw Doc's video. It looks amazing.
Doc is a YouTuber. That's Doc Rock, ladies and gentlemen.
Doc is crushing it.
YouTube.com/Doc Rock. He's so good. He had a LUT on it for a while. Because you shoot in log for your YouTube?
Yeah. Yeah, so I listened to some dude named Alex Lindsay, and I found out that if you shoot in a log video, what happens, you get better dynamic range for your edit. So when you go to edit, you can do better. So try to be color corrected and properly white balanced. And
now, are you,
all the
Doc?
I've learned.
Are you posting it? Are you posting it in HLG? Or
no, normally what I do is I go from 2020 to Rec 709 at the end, just in case, because YouTube doesn't, depending on the person's browser, YouTube will not properly convert HDR. But if you have, say you're using Chrome browser on a LG monitor with HDR profiles, it'll be fine.
It looks amazing. It looks like the HD. Well, and the HDR, if you post to YouTube, when it comes out, it looks just gorgeous. It
does look good when you do it. But I'm always afraid that someone's gonna say, "Well, you look so funny," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's normal." Right.
Yeah. It would be good. YouTube should put let you upload 2 files. Like, here's the HDR.
Or like a slider where people can see, this is what you're missing, right? I mean, at least we're getting, proper, V9 for Safari now. So that's already going to make it better anyway.
Yeah. So, Andy, you read any good comic books lately?
We're geeked out. We couldn't help it. We were
we got a mini office hours going on here. All right, as long as we're talking, I mentioned that I was going to get a Mac. I didn't want to get. I have an iMac Pro, and now that Apple's discontinued it, obviously the writing's on the wall that I overspent for something that's now obsolete. But I was going to wait and maybe get some M1X or M2 or something Mac Mini, and you guys, please don't yell at me. I decided, well, Linux is almost as good as Mac OS. What if I just got a really powerful PC?
I'm with you. I'm not about to replace anything in my Macs with a powerful Linux machine, but it really has. I've been using Linux so much on an old Lenovo laptop that I bought at a flea market for $30 and liking it so much that now I'm like, but what if you put just $500 or $600 into getting building a middle of the road, doesn't even have to be a graphics powerhouse, and just giving that desktop parity with a couple of the other operating systems in here, because if people haven't tried a modern build like Mint Linux, it is so easy to use. It is. I think it's in the same weight class as Windows and Macintosh. I don't think it's going to be useful for the same type of people, because with Linux there is still always that point where, how do I do this simple thing? And then you really have to dig to make that work, but you can make it work. And I just like the way I've got my Mint Linux setup going on my Lenovo. So yeah, I don't think you're crazy. I think that I will.
Well, wait till you hear what I got. You might think I'm crazy.
But Leo, this is what I built a computer over the weekend.
Oh, did you?
Look at this. Yeah, look, there it is.
That's a Raspberry Pi.
Yay, Raspberry Pi.
We did the coolest thing on office hours over the weekend. We built this as a group. So there was literally 30 of us with 100 people watching, and we all built a Raspberry Pi, and that's what's playing out this video, is that Raspberry Pi. It's called Playout B. It's a little playout. So
that was your test video that you sent us.
Yeah, but it was.
This is a guy in Dharamsala making paratis.
Parathi.
so everybody can have some nice flatbread for breakfast. Is this your breakfast guy?
It was.
Did he give you chai masala as well?
No, the chai is right next to us. So each booth had its own specialty.
Of course.
The chai was on the.
You got to go to Chaiwala for the chai. You can't just get the Parati guy to make you chai. That's silly. That's crazy talk.
Exactly.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
So it was.
I could really do
anyway.
Parati and that chai right about now.
But yeah, it's funny when you have actually 30 people, at least 15 or 20 people that have multi-camera systems that are joining Zoom, that are all working on these little, literally building this thing out.
The Pis are kind of amazing, aren't they?
They are. They're really
for the price.
Yeah. Yes.
That's by the way, those are ARM chips. That shows you a little bit that, ARM is not. Yeah. I think we thought of ARM as kind of that's if you need a lot of power, but a lot of battery life, but you don't need power. It's good for phones, I guess.
Yeah, it's good.
Thinking otherwise.
Now, what'd you build, Leo? Or what did you get?
It's probably not too late to cancel, because it's going to be 2 months because it's short supply. But I thought, well, if I'm going to get a PC to run Linux, I probably should get something so I could try some other new technologies like the AMD Ryzen 7. So I got a 5800X, which is a pretty powerful AMD processor. GeForce 3080. That's what's going to take 2 months, I think, because those are in short supply. 128 gigs DDR4 RAM. The thing weighs 39 pounds. It's not a Mac Mini. And then I went really crazy. I went really bonkers, and I got a 55-inch OLED gaming display.
Okay, that's a choice.
Doc, am I gonna? I thought I'd be my new YouTube channel. Leo spends all his money in one fell swoop.
The 55-inch is the part that just gave it away. It's like, I'm just going to build a simple machine for, but I need 55 inches. Okay.
Well, I was going to get the super wide one because, that's the whole reason I didn't want to get an iMac anymore is because I want a choice. So this is all Alienware stuff from Dell. So, and then I thought, well, Dell has I know because Lisa has it, a 50-inch monitor, a super wide monitor, 49-inch. Yeah. But it's narrow. She says, I wish it went up too. So I thought
So the secret to going up to is to order what's known as a 5K 2K. Okay, so for instance, I'm running a 27-inch iMac, and then I have a 5K 2K LG sitting here. Then the extra port is connected to the M1 Mac Mini because that's the dedicated streaming machine. So you can get wide and tall, but you have to specifically look for 5K 2K.
This is 120 hertz, 3840 by 2160. I think it's probably just like a TV, is what it is.
Yeah, that's 4K.
It's 4K. Yeah. So is that good or no? Should I not get that, Doc Rock?
No, I think it's amazing, but I just find it hilarious that I'm just going to build a little utility machine.
No, I didn't say it. This is my main desktop at home. It's replacing a iMac Pro.
Hell of a desk. 52 inches.
I have a big desk. I know. I'm not.
Have you been to the iDoc recently?
Way back here. I don't know. I can cancel it. It was at breakfast. I should never order anything at breakfast.
You're definitely going to need another one of those chairs.
We're gonna so that you. And then I got the Alienware gaming keyboard and mouse because I figured now I can really be a YouTuber. But you know what in the words of the Wizard of Oz, you know what Doc Rock has that you don't have? He's got ring lights. I need ring lights now, don't I?
No, that one over there is only a fill, and I absolutely hate it.
Really?
My key light is really funny because it's a Stella company called Light in Motion, and everyone complains about how expensive 120Ds are at $700. That is a $1,500 light. So don't do what I did.
Well,
just buy.
I've just blown my wad. I ain't going to be buying any $1,500 one.
Yeah.
I just thought it's probably time. We talk a lot about these, the new Ryzen chips. We talk a lot about the, the NVIDIA new gaming cards. I thought I ought to try some ray tracing at home.
Ooh.
We'll see. I think I'm a foolish man. Yes, I'm announcing on MacBreak Weekly that I'm buying a PC. And now that I think about it, I should probably keep Windows on it because nothing's going to take advantage of any of that stuff unless it's running in Windows. So, all right, back to MacBreak Weekly. Of course, you know what's going to happen the minute it arrives. Right.
You're in a place of peace and love and safety.
Yes.
Nothing is going to happen in this chat that you don't want to happen. We're just going to discuss some certain decisions and actions that got some of your friends very, very concerned, Leo. And we hope that we'll stick around, and we're going to present you with 2 or 3 options at the end of this conversation. 2 weeks
after this thing arrives, Apple's going to announce the M80, processor, and I'll be,
This is the year of Unix on the desktop. I'm predicting that.
Oh, thank God. You know what's not the year of? The Apple HomePod. Bye-bye, HomePod.
I have feelings about this.
Do you have all the feels?
I have all the feels about this. I definitely genuinely love that little beast mode that it is for, but after getting my minis, and I ordered them, actually the last time I was on this show, we ordered them live, and they are freaking amazing. Yes, they do absolutely miss that extra bass that comes with the big ones, but that bass is for me. The other person in my house actually likes it without all of the bass, and it sounds incredible. And you can tune it if you have, room to adjust corner placement. You can kind of get a little extra bass out of it by using, physics. But the minis are just absolutely incredible. And if you think about it, you could buy 3 of them for $50 more than just one of that, and you just get a better sound, say in your house.
Now they don't. They don't do the minis. Don't do the surround solution, right? With the Apple TV.
No, they do not. Yeah, unfortunately.
No.
But I think you can fake it though.
They do left-right stereo. I did the same thing, Doc Rock. We have 2 HomePods because Lisa really liked the big boys when they came out, but I ordered 5 minis to sprinkle around the house, and they sound fine. You're right; they're not super bassy. It's not probably. I wouldn't want to. I mean, I have good stereo to listen to music, but for audiobooks, podcasts, a little background music while you're cooking, it's perfect.
Yeah, and now that these streaming speakers are kind of streaming table stakes for everybody, I think one of the big things that we've all learned is that it's cool to have a single pair of $600 speakers like against the wall or in a corner of the room. But if you have that like 5 or 6 $80, $90, $100 streaming speakers everywhere in the room, that gives you that kind of room filling presence where you feel if the quality of each individual speaker is of a certain quality, that's what I'm after. I'm not necessarily after, this big like Maxell tape sort of tsunami of sound coming from one corner of the room. I kind of want to be able to hear the music wherever I am, and that's the sort of immersive thing that you get from it. So it also helps that the minis are really, really good. They're good enough, which is something that the Apple tends to have a problem with. That no, we don't want the $400 or $500 amazingly, incredibly best in class speaker. We want something that is good enough that allows us to come home from the mall with $300 or $400 in our pocket that we didn't have before.
It's so funny that you use that analogy, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because in my family store, we used to sell B&W speakers, Bowers and Wilkins, not the car.
Oh,
they
those.
That is
with
what
the
was
diamond
in the Maxell
tweeters,
commercial.
man. Oh man,
right.
Yeah.
So we had a pair of those 801s from the Maxell commercial in our store. I currently have 5 of those set up, not the 801s. I have the 6 series. So I have 602.5s in the front, 601s in the back, and then a 600 series center. So my music listening experience is that.
Exactly.
But I just need to hear the news in the morning or listen to you guys or listen to Renee wax rhapsodically about, Google privacy versus Apple. I can have 3 minis with a house full of Canadian as I walk around and do my stuff in the morning. So it's okay. I hate to say this, and my audiophile family would kill me, but that sounds better. When you're listening to that content, it actually sounds better on the mini speakers than even piping it through my Bowers and Wilkins because they're not designed for that.
I think that's probably the smart way to think of it is when I want to listen to quality music, it's not while you're doing stuff. It's when you're going to sit down, have the speakers perfectly positioned. You're going to pay attention and enjoy it. For wallpaper music, the minis are fine.
I agree.
A nice Chianti and fava beans.
I am probably going to now that they're discontinued, probably go out and buy one more because I just want to be able to do it with the surround. Do you
need 2 for the surround or just 2? Just 2.
And it was kind of interesting that it doesn't support it with the little speakers because it seems like it'd be fun to put them around like little candles around what you're doing and have them actually work, but it doesn't work. And so the one of the folks in our office hours actually compared them. Having just the 2 of the HomePods with TJ he's got 10 discrete speakers in his where he watches TV, and he said it was 80%. Like 80% of the 10 speakers was just those 2. It was just kind of amazing. And so it is an interesting, that's the best solution for those. And that's why I had it on my list of things to buy. I'll probably buy one just so I have a complete set. But on a day-to-day basis, ours sits in the kitchen And whether it's a little one or the big one, I'm not sure. It matters for me because I turn it way up. But it probably doesn't matter to my wife, who just constantly asks for timers. That's the number one use of that thing is timers and stacking timers on top of each other, and Siri trying to keep track of all the timers.
By the way, we talked about that on Sunday. There is a little plateau in voice assistants. And what the plateau is really mostly us, humans, the humans who use it, which is we just basically use it for timers and to ask for a podcast or music. We're not, yeah. I guess there's a few like superhumans that use it to turn lights on and off, but it's not really, it's not HAL 9000.
My primary is definitely the lights. However, I think the one thing everyone misses about Siri, and it's still going to be the case, and I've said this over and over, so I'll keep repeating myself. Siri will always suffer because she was originally designed with the intention of there being a screen there to get you the rest of the answer. The other assistants were designed knowing there may not be a screen, so they go deeper and they go further. But what everyone does, I mean, every person on the planet, is they never put in the work to let her fully understand you. You have to talk to her more. So if you dictate notes, if you dictate text messages and things like that, Siri will get better. It's just the way that the system works.
Yeah. Doc Rock, you lost me at you have to put in the work.
She's very good though. We compare them by asking each service how much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood.
Yeah, but that's just that's an Easter egg.
They have wise.
Ask them to beatbox too. That'll gives you a nice distinction.
It's very, very fulfilling that all these companies, Amazon, Google, and Apple, they have that's probably on their business cards. Weisenheimer, Siri, Weisenheimer.
Yes,
like come up with wise ass responses to.
We've talked
questions.
about. There's a team that does that, right?
Oh, absolutely,
full-time job.
Has bars. I didn't know this. Ask Alaska to the rap. Sorry, I didn't mean to say that. I hope I didn't trigger anyone's house.
Say echo. Say echo.
Okay.
That's a good one. That's what we've converged
on. If you
tell
Echo to rap, it's got bars, and it's hilarious. I absolutely love it. So that's just a fun Easter egg if you haven't tried that yet.
So the HomePod, it's interesting because at the same time as just shortly before Apple discontinued it was $250 at the end, but it started originally as $300. Google also discontinued its $300 Google Home Max. I mean, I think what really is happening, in addition to all the things we've mentioned, is that people aren't buying expensive speakers. If they are, they're going to get a stereo. They're going to go all the way. If it fits a middle that doesn't exist, there's either the normal people who want a $100 speaker, and the people like Doc Rock who want B&W 801s, and there isn't somebody there who's saying, well, I think $300 for a speaker is a great price. Maybe they're the ones who buy Sonos, I guess.
The little ones are great gateway speakers. So they're great gateway speakers. And then after you hear it, and actually for even the new Echo version at the $99 price tag sounds pretty decent.
Yeah, all the $100 speakers, Google's, Amazon's, and Apple's are good.
They're
not great.
And I have a Sony one back there, which is a GA, and it sounds fantastic too. That was a gift. Now, once you have that, and you know what, this is not that bad, and I can't get it louder because it's too tiny. But if I double them up, because they all have a double them up feature, then it'll get better. And so after the second one, you go, wait, I need one for the bathroom, and I need one for outside, and this. And so you end up with what they originally wanted is the network, right? And then once you have them set up, similarly, they sound absolutely fantastic. And Sonos is going, where did we go wrong?
I think Apple made a very, very traditionally Apple mistake in which they tried to dictate to everybody what they wanted. And that always comes filtered through Apple's point of view, which is, the design is impeccable. If it's for conveying artistic content, music, the music and the sound has to be impeccable. And even at that point when this device was introduced, the industry was saying, people through what they were buying were saying that no, sound really isn't the thing. Sound, this is a speaker that does a lot of different things. We really want a $30 or $40 one so that we can have one in the bathroom too, so that we can send as we're getting ready to go to work and we're going from from like the bedroom to the bathroom to the kitchen. We don't have to keep like switching speakers from one place to another. We can fill the entire room with this sort of stuff. And you're absolutely right. I mean, I have in my bedroom speakers are Google Home Max speakers, and I only bought them when they were really, really discounted. The first one I bought was like a Black Friday sale at $200. Then I bought a second one when they were half off and being discontinued at $150. But if I were to, and having two of these things, the big ones with a big bass, that is impressive, full immersive stereo. But when I look at that pair on the shelf across from my bed, and I think that if I paid list price for these, this would be like a $600-700 speaker set. And then I look at, well, what could you get in terms of real speakers to hook up to like your actual stereo system, the actual hi-fi in the living room? And I could almost certainly get something that would kick its butt. I don't understand. It's hard to get that proposition of, oh, I will never buy another pair of speakers again because I've got these these $300 to $400 smart speakers are going to do it all for me. It reminds me of when Steve Jobs introduced the iPod Hi-Fi and said, "Oh, I've gotten rid of all my stereos in my house. All I have is this wonderful shoebox-sized iPod Hi-Fi to dock my iPod into." It's like you have to listen to what the consumers are telling you. They were telling Apple, "Don't give us the $350, $400 big piece of fruit. Give us something small that we can put everywhere."
iPod Hi-Fi was a legendary flop. And I hope Steve got his stereo back because
we use that thing in our shop forever. Like that. The funny thing is that
you know what? But people also bought Bose, waveform radios. I mean, that doesn't mean it's good. It just means it fits the purpose. I was just thinking about it.
It was great when we were kind of moving around.
And it lasted forever.
I still have mine.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, mine only died not that long ago, but and to Andy's point, a pair of Audio Engine 5s at $399 will definitely pounce those speakers to death. But most people don't think about those anymore. Right. If you check out Chuck Joyner, he has the Audio Engine 5s in the back, and those are incredible.
I think they're great. That's what I use on my computer. I think they're with an Audio Engine sub, and I think that's a very nice system. I think you just have to consider what you're using it for. The point, though, is Apple clearly didn't sell a lot of these, right? Or they would have kept them around. They spent. Remember, what did they buy? 10 anechoic chambers, and they brought in people and showed them all the Remember all the talk we did about these are going to be the best speakers? I'm sorry, Renee's not here because he was like all into this. He got the briefing. These
computational
speakers,
audio, yes.
Yeah, and I honestly was a little skeptical because there's. Physics is physics. With that kind of size container, for instance, it only had tweeters and a low end. It didn't have any mid-range speakers at all. There were a lot of things. It was an audiophile looking at that would have said, yeah, no. But for what it wanted, my other issue for what you want to do, it's for the purpose it probably fit, although the $100 one fits better. But my other problem is, I think, and I learned this from bitter experience with Sonos, you don't want to put the computer in the speaker. Ideally, you decouple those, right? If you want good, you can get great speakers, great sound. The problem is that the speakers will last decades.
Yeah.
This computer is going to last a year.
I can still use my
Right.
Yeah, I still have my iPod Hi-Fi. I still use it. It's a speaker that I've got in the living room for when I need to physically plug into something, and it still sounds great. You're absolutely right. It's difficult. I had a pair of Sonos speakers that used to be like the sort of the bridge set of speakers, but then as soon as the smart speakers came in, I just don't have any use for it, and it kind of kills me that I've got this like $350 set of gear that. I realize that it can be used for other things, but it's just so inconvenient and it's kind of inconceivable. And we're going back to the power of a copper wire that goes from one standard plug to another standard plug. This is something that I've got tape recorders here that are 30 years old that can still work with modern speakers because copper wire going from one standard plug to another standard plug. And I'm not sure we're going to find this. I've got Amazon smart speakers, 2 or 3 of them just in storage that I just don't know what to do with. They're kind of too nice to throw away.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can give them away, and that's how quickly these things die when it's not a standard.
Yeah. It's like you want to store all your files in a text-based format.
Right.
You kind of want to decouple technology from the stuff you want to survive. You don't want to put a browser in a refrigerator, as Samsung did, because the refrigerator is going to be around for a lot longer than you're going to want to update that browser. Yeah.
Well, and that's also like why I don't care about computers in my cars. I'm like, I got an iPad for that or an iPhone. Like I don't like you're not gonna. It's not.
Well, that's why CarPlay or Android Auto is the best thing ever. I have a brand new car, but it will be updated every time I get a new iPhone, and every time Apple's updates CarPlay, and then all the stuff I want, including GPS and directions, are coming from my phone. It's exactly the way to do it.
See, I find that the screen on the Honda that we have is great because the suction cup for the phone
fits right on the screen
really well. It just pops right on, and it just like when I get on, I just like look, there we go.
This Ford has a Tesla style big screen.
You could put you could suction cup a couple screens.
I could do
a
couple of things.
Yeah, exactly. You can have an iPad and a couple.
No,
iPhones.
I love CarPlay. I have to say that every time I get
CarPlay is legit,
and I have it's wireless now, so it's projecting.
Yes.
So, and it's got a Qi charger. So, it's like I should live in this car. It's got the best set of anything I've got. I'm tempted to.
It's kind of funny, too, when I think about it. And Andy just hammered a point home that I guess I use all the time without thinking about it. But I have a Fisher X100 tube amp right there next to my feet. It keeps the feet warm when it gets cold in the office.
Wow.
When I really want to sit down and listen, I have an amplifier that's old as me. Yeah, I think it's as old as I am, and it
sounds
flawless.
Great, I bet.
As a matter of fact, it sounds absolutely incredible. And I have two 1972 Marantz pieces, amp and preamp, sitting right there in the back room that I'm building new cabinets for. And again, they sound absolutely incredible. And if I bust those out, first of all, people are like, what is that? Why are they glowing? Is it going to catch fire? And I'm like, give it 5 minutes to heat it up and then listen. And then like, oh, I didn't know that. But the reason why all of this is going away too, I believe, something we didn't touch on, the AirPods and the AirPod Max and the Bose situations and all of the other things like that are allowing a house, say, of 5 for every individual person to have the experience that matches them.
Good point.
When we were children, we had to listen to what Dad and Papa were listening to.
Yeah.
Okay?
Enough Roy Conniff, Dad. I've had enough.
Thank you. Right? It depends on what your person listened to, right?
What did your dad listen to?
I had jazz. I had classical.
Well, that's okay. That's good for you.
Singer-songwriters, like the 60s. I'm especially...
it wasn't Lawrence Welk, at least.
No, I didn't have tiny bubbles in my wine. Actually, that's Don Ho. That's from here. Sorry, people from here. But yeah, having an eclectic music taste and then listening to vinyl. And I was taught to understand those nuances. And can you hear the fingers on the fretboard in this particular system? Okay, let's change the needle. Look, you still hear the song, right? Yeah. But do you hear the finger slide on the fretboard? I do not.
We should explain Doc Rock's family owned a stereo store.
Right? Yeah. So I learned, right? So when we take apart a Satriani, I understand what I'm listening to. And nowadays, no one talks about music like that. And it kind of makes sense because the listening experience is not going to give you that. Maybe the Maxes might, but a lot of the other stuff is not just going to do that. So now that everyone has this sort of fractured, individual listening experience in the house, there's no longer need for that one gorgeous centerpiece with the glowing Siri thing in the top.
Yeah. Plus you can get headphones that sound every bit as good as those B&W 801s. Well, maybe not every bit as good, but
not every bit, but close enough. Close. Yeah.
Doc,
we should mention also.
Did your parents let you? Good.
I just want a programming note. You probably said, "What happened to Renee?" He's not gone. He's taking the day off.
I'm going to say about. Sorry. Sorry.
Doc's here filling in for Renee because, as Renee explained last week, but I know everybody doesn't listen to every show. He had already made a prior agreement and couldn't get out of it. So I think personally he's getting briefed by Apple about next week's event, but that's just
no. I checked his Instagram. There is no picture of him, no picture of his Apple Watch with airport instructions.
Oh,
so
all right.
Don't worry.
I did grill him on it on the live stream this morning, and he didn't answer. He cracked all the rest of the jokes, but he didn't answer that question.
He didn't. So that's interesting.
Okay.
Has the event been announced yet?
There's nobody got an invitation, right? I'm the wrong guy to ask.
So they
don't have to give you warning.
Yeah.
I was going to say you did it, Leo.
Actually,
I guess
since they started streaming them, they've actually invited me because they figure, well, what can he do? We're already streaming it. Can't screw this one up.
He's going to come in and wax rhapsodically about Raspberry Pis and Linux machines.
That's right. Have you heard about the Ryzen lately? You know,
that would fit. No, because he denied it a couple of weeks ago that he was taking a week off for Apple.
He did.
So if it turns out that was a lie, we should spend the first hour again talking about Linux, talking about Raspberry Pi, talking about speakers.
Not let him say a thing.
All of the stuff he's an expert on, he doesn't even have any opinion on. I'll talk about Love and Rockets, the comic from the '80s that I've been getting back into.
Yeah.
He's Canadian. He might not have heard of it.
He'll say,
"Hey,
but don't you want to know about the AirTags?" No, we don't care. No,
that too. Yes.
Oh, you do want to know about the AirTags. So I'm logging in. I'm sorry, I have to press my YubiKey because I'm logging in to see if I got an invitation at my work address, my work email. But now I've hung the computer, so I guess I won't. Nothing's happening. Oh well, YubiKey broke it. Okay, never mind. You didn't? Anybody invitations? Anybody? Does anybody see the tweeters?
9.
They would do it by now, wouldn't they? If they were going to do something.
They don't have to because if they're going to put out a video, they could tell you 3 days ahead of time. You're not going anywhere. It's not like you're going to.
It could be a drop. Yeah.
Good point. Although
they're going to use Zoom and have like the Alex Lindsay setup where everybody's just sitting in a gigantic 500-person Zoom room.
Yeah. Maybe we won't have an event next Tuesday. Maybe it'll be the 30th.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there'll be one in March, right?
I'd be surprised if there wasn't. They've got so many things in the pipeline right now that are AirTags are just the tip of the iceberg. That I mean, they could do things in April as well, but you have to think about how they want to space these things out.
Right.
They certainly are going to have some. You would think that they're definitely going to have some hardware announcements, big ones at WWDC, even a virtual one in June. That means that you want to have some air between whatever. I have to imagine there's going to be at least 2 product releases, product announcements between now and then, and it just seems as though March would be the best time to do one of those, particularly something like AirTags, which is A, brand new, B, go out and get it right now. It only costs $50 or however much Apple's going to be charging for this thing. And then after that, you kind of want to have a little bit of room to talk about a new iPad. So who knows? It's a different world, as Alex has been saying. It's a great time for a company to decide that just as Apple untethered itself from the January Macworld Expo keynotes and started to set their own agenda of when they would have to make major announcements. Now, when they're not even tied to having to, we need to get 80 gallons of coffee in this room stat to get for all the unwashed press people who we have to bring in for a keynote. All things are on the table now.
And at the rate Apple is releasing things, it probably it becomes a really long keynote if you don't release
That's true.
regularly.
They got to break it up.
It means WWDC would get to be we have all these things we want to do. So it seems like they would want to do something before then.
You can thank me. I bought that AMD computer so that they'd have something really great to announce.
Thank you, Leo. Yes,
in June.
It's perfect.
I'm gonna have to read my ad off the phone. This thing's dead. It's dead, Jim. So much for secure. A PC, man.
It's so secure.
I tell you, we could, Alex. If I bought an iMac, you see, the reason we like this is because the screen can tilt out of the shot. So I have a screen in front of me, but it's not blocking me. It's like tilted like this.
Yep.
If I bought an iMac, can I take the stand off, put a Visa mount on it, and somehow get it mounted like this?
Yep.
Or maybe get a Mac Mini and get a nice 55-inch computer, right?
Just get the 80-inch, Leo. Come on.
Yeah.
The whole table is a monitor.
The whole table.
Microsoft Surface. Get one of those like wall-mounted Microsoft Surface things and just make it the table.
That's a great thought. All right. I guess
when you buy a car now, that's how they have you sign all the papers. They have this giant like surface in the table and you sign everything. It was kind of crazy.
All All right, let me open up.
That's when you know you've been screwed. When you're like, wow, you can afford to have this $80,000 Surface table instead of just printing something off of a printer and making me sign it. I'm guessing that the financing you offered me was not to my advantage.
Well, it's at B&W, so it kind of matched.
Okay, there you go.
All right, let's take a little break. More to talk about as soon as my computer boots up. This is why you buy a Mac, okay? I'm just saying. Our show today brought to you by, I got the copy right here, IT Pro TV. It's really small. Fortunately, I know a lot about IT Pro TV. They started advertising with us when they first began back at, 2013? It was actually, I feel like a little proprietary over this company. The founders, Tim Broom and Don Pizzette, were IT trainers, the kind of guys, have classrooms and they teach you what you need to know to get the A+ certificate or the MCSE certificate so that you can get that first job in IT. Those certificates are really helpful if you're just getting into IT. When they came to the National Association of Broadcasters show, I think this was around 2012, I was on a panel. It was with Adam Carolla, as I remember, and some other guys. All of us were doing like streaming stuff. Don and Tim said, what if we did what we're doing in a classroom, but we did it like TWiT? We did it a live. Of course, they did it much better than TWiT because now they have 7 studios in their Gainesville headquarters. Open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Record, and the reason they have to record new material all the time is stuff changes. The quiz, the test questions change, the certificate questions, but also new versions of products. They're always keeping up to date. And that's the beauty of IT. It's kind of an endless growth in terms of the kinds of things you need to know. IT Pro TV is great, not only for people who want to get those jobs, get those first jobs, but for people already working in IT, because you can continue to learn, continue to add to your skills, make yourself a better employee, make yourself a more desirable employee. March is Cisco month at IT Pro TV. That means they're going to be featuring their 12 Cisco courses. Those are very popular certs. The CCNA, CCNP, CCT, Encore or Encore, SLED, and RC. Those are certs people really want. You check out their Cisco webinar. They did it earlier this month, I think on the 11th, with Cisco award winner Dave Bombal, but it's online. It's called Get Hands-On with Cisco. You can view it on demand at itpro.tv/webinars. That's free, by the way. Also free, their Technado podcast with Don Pizzette, featuring industry guests and IT news recaps. It's a deeper dive into the IT realm. IT Pro TV. Look at all these courses. It's amazing. Now, there are a number of different subscription levels. There's IT Pro TV for businesses, so you can keep your IT team up to date and skilled. But for consumers, we've got a great deal. itpro.tv/MacBreak. If you use the code MacBreak30, 30% off all consumer subscriptions, and it stays 30% off as long as you stay active. So basically, for as long as you use it. That is a great deal. itpro.tv/MacBreak. Don't forget the offer code MacBreak30. Great people, trainers who are expert in the field, but who also know whereof they speak and speak eloquently and fun. itpro.tv/MacBreak. Use the code MacBreak30 at checkout for 30% off the lifetime of your active subscription. IT Pro TV. Build or expand your IT career and enjoy the journey. Thank you, IT Pro TV. We talked last week extensively about what we might see next week if there is an Apple event. Just to recap, I'm not going to go into it, but AirTags for sure, a new iPad Pro featuring mini LED technology, maybe better LiDAR for sure, and of course the new A14X, is that what they're going to call it? A new chip. We also think there might be, this a little less certain, there might be a new Apple TV, which would make me very happy. But not any new Macs. This wouldn't be a Mac event this month. Yeah?
Yeah, probably not till WWDC.
What are they going to do in WWDC? Is that going to be when they announce iMacs?
I think that's when they put on the table the super high power M1 chip, the super high power Apple Silicon chips, because what we saw at the end of 2020 was proof of concept, very, very functional proof of concept, but it wasn't there to convince people who are using Macs to do really, really high powered computing that this is something that they're going to want to switch to one of these three models. This is the time for them to come out with either iMacs and Mac Minis with next generation CPUs or next generation designs that really, really push the button of we've already proven that the Apple Silicon is as compatible and faster than whatever we would have put in there that had an Intel label on it. Now we're here to press the advantage of why we made this switch to begin with. The things that we can now do in terms of power and functionality that we would not be able to do in June of 2021 if we were still on Intel. So I think the third wave will be the equivalent of the Mac Pro. There's the rumors of something like a Mac Pro Mini, which it would be right up my street.
Yeah, but that's the one I'm going to really regret buying this AMD processor. If they do a Mac Pro Mini with, say, I don't know, it could have 16 or 32 cores. It could have another 16 or 32 GPU cores.
Just the mini form factor with whatever the new chip is they're putting into the iMac.
Yeah.
Swappable storage, swappable RAM. Yeah, would be huge.
And more RAM. They need more RAM. What do you need for RAM, Alex? What do you get for RAM?
Most of the machines that I get are still not more than 32. I mean, I usually do. I mean, the little Mac Minis that we have are 8.
8. Okay.
16. Yeah, I mean, it's the little Mac Minis that we have. I just don't use them for heavy lifting. And most of the stuff does 32. I've got a couple with 64 gigs of RAM, and then so far when we've gone over that, we actually go to AWS. So like if you're like AWS, you can line up 256 gigs of RAM with a couple graphics cards, and you get these big machines and just throw a problem at it. So we haven't needed those on a day-to-day basis, and it's just cheaper to do it in the cloud. So
with Final Cut running on the M1 Mini, I had 8 gig and I never ran into a single problem.
Really?
The only place where you would run into a problem would be if you had the type of plugin that did some high-level procedural stuff. But even the tracking plugins and all of the above, you're even basically color correct, tracking, titling, things like that, not a single issue. I did return that and get a 16, and I did it for one reason only. And it is slightly faster. It's not something that you can notice on an everyday basis. It's, again, when you do something really difficult, like it powers through it slightly quicker because where there's more space to think. But I primarily got a 16 is because when this space gray version of a Mini comes out that's kind of pro, this will sell easier because it has 16 and people don't understand the common unified memory. I was going to say common memory. The reason people don't understand unified memory and how it works, so the number would just make more sense. But it's so hard to explain to folks. You cannot compare your Intel memory paging to this level of memory. It's completely different. Xbox and PlayStation have been doing it for years, and no one talked about it. Apple does it, and the whole world's going to melt.
Well, and the thing is that the Apple has to keep moving quickly because a lot of us. I mean, I was in this. I got to buy some Intel machines before these little toy machines come out. Before the M1, I was like, I better invest or be ready to invest in Intel machines because this transition is going to be a mess. And as soon as the M1 Mini came, a Mac Mini came out, and especially after we got one and tested it, it was like, okay, we're not buying any more computers. we're just going to wait now. We're just going to wait until we see because you could just extrapolate very quickly where the iMac and where the Mac Pro and where the MacBook Pro is going. 100%. And so I think that now, while there's been this huge surge, and the Apple can experiment with this because it's such a small part of their income. But a lot of us now aren't buying. I mean, I know a lot of people that aren't buying any machines right now because they're just waiting to see what the M1s look like at the iMac and MacBook Pro. I think that what I'm interested to see is if at WWDC they give us a preview of like, here's the speed of the Mac Pro. Like here's what's coming out. I mean, because they obviously know what it is, but whether they'll show it to us or not will be interesting.
The most impressive thing to me, and I think this is really hard to understand, but it's because it doesn't make a zero bit of sense. What I'm streaming to you from right now is a fully loaded 2020 iMac. This is $4,600. That thing right there at $899 on most tasks are faster than this. The only time, again, that I run into at the end when I'm adding the final conversion from, BT 2020 to Rec 709, color correcting, and rendering, this one renders a little bit faster. And I mean, not 10 minutes faster. I mean, like a minute and a half faster. So negligible. So had to do it all over again. I honestly, straight up, would buy like 3 or 4 of these as opposed to this. And I mean, yes, we're not equating the monitor and the mouse and keyboard and all of that. Most of the people on this show, most people listening to this show have been Mac users for so long. You already have mouse and keyboard and monitor, so take that excuse out your face. This thing is stupid fast, and I am waiting, Andy will agree with me, for the Celtics green iMac. I don't need it, just one.
You want a green iMac?
Yeah, that's the rumor, whatever.
What if it had a parquet floor? So,
Leo, really?
So, well, you said Celtics green. I'm curious if you would ever consider doing what Alex does, which is cloud editing or cloud. If you see, I feel like
we don't do cloud editing. This is usually like a calculation. Like we're looking at cloud editing. We're looking because we're using Windows for editing. I apologize, but on Dell Precision workstations. But after the fires last summer, we've set it up so that we could spin up a cloud compute instance that has GPUs, that has lots of RAM. You'd probably have to do an EDL back and forth because you don't want to upload the giant files and stuff like that. I don't know how you do it, but we want to do that so that their editors at home can, or anywhere, can edit in the cloud. I think that's certainly the wave of the future on the PC side. I mean, for video, we're not doing that. We're doing calculations, like throwing stuff up there to do calculations. But it's the same idea. I mean, the only issue is except I don't have to interact with the size of the files. Yeah. Frame rate. So frame rate, coming back to frame rate and interactivity and latency becomes a thing. Really? Right? And so really? Well, I mean, you could play video games from the cloud now. Yeah, but it's just not. Can you do it all the time? And will it be accurate? And will it? It's not. Anyway, I haven't found it to be as snappy. So it's not there yet. And so
as long as U.S. ISPs continue to do what they do, U.S. ISPs are like holding back and like hoarding data and like making up stuff that doesn't exist because there's countries in the world that. Okay, here's a prime example, and Alex will know this. Go to Japan, right? And you go into the airport when you first get your bags, walk over to the counter, rent a device this big, and it will spit you 175 megabits per second up and down for $7 a day. Walking anywhere in the country, underground, in the train, 300 miles an hour in the Shinkansen, that sucker's connected, 10 devices, lightning fast. Over here, you're going over your data this month, so we're going to slow you down. Man, I want to reach over there, Randolph Stevenson, if I could meet you at the bar, brother. You're talking about the CEO of AT&T. And I think that if you have a fast connection, I think that you absolutely can do it. I think that I've tested it at home, and I'm kind of like, it's good. It's good. It's not like being there. It's really close. But with an industrial connection, it's probably very close to the to being able to do it. So we should mention if you call Randall Stevenson these days, he's going to say, "Hey, I'm retired. I'm actually on the beach down the road from you a little bit." It's now John Stanky. I can actually take. It's now John Stanky, and I just like saying his name, so I'm going to say it again. It's now the CEO of AT&T is now John Stanky. Okay, so let's talk about. I think Leger can fight, so I don't want to call him out. Anybody that's brave enough to wear magenta chucks, I think he should actually scrap. So he also is retired. You got to get with it. Your telecom executives, they've all moved on, my friend. They've all moved on. Let's talk about the M1 because a couple of things happened this week that I think made Mac users very, very happy. Photoshop now is optimized for Apple Silicon. Well, some of it is. Oh, tell me about that. Not all of it. Yeah, there's a couple cycles. They were like, I read the headline. I must have missed the details. Yeah, I mean, I think that I was there was some other stuff that we were talking about. I think in office hours or whatever. But it's that
most of the app has been, the core app and most of the app has been released. There are definitely some cycles that they're still working on, but they said they didn't want to hold it back.
Is it plugins that aren't?
Yeah, there's a lot of code. It's not just there's a lot of code in there that there's some pieces of it that are older architecture that's going to just take a little longer.
Wild.
So rather than make everybody wait for them to get all that done, because the reality is that 95% of the Photoshop users aren't going to use those things. So I think they felt safe enough to, they had to make the caveat that, hey, we're not completely done with it. It's not one-to-one.
Shows
but
you
it's 95%.
that Apple's notion that, oh, you just flip a switch on Xcode and now you're compiling a universal binary. That for modern complex software.
The Rosetta worked at day one. The Rosetta worked day one. We're talking about we're talking about having to refactor for absolutely every process that's in a giant app that's been around for 30 years. It's not a monolithic app. Yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah.
You know, and so it and a lot of apps. I mean, that's where we're seeing kind of some little places where it's not working perfectly are smaller apps that don't have a big programming staff or haven't had a programming staff for 2 or 3 years. Those and some people are using their code for their virtual camera or their something else, and that that's taking a little bit longer. So it's a lot of these dependencies that people are trying to kind of tie up before they move over.
They also updated Photoshop for the iPad, which has of course always been compatible with Apple Silicon. Have you tried the new Adobe Camera Raw Super Resolution feature, or anybody in the office hours try that?
Haven't tried it yet.
I'm seeing just a few have tried it. I have it at home. I should really try it. The idea is it effectively doubles the resolution, even of a 40 megapixel or 60 megapixel image, using, I'll put it in scare quotes, AI to figure out what those in-between pixels are. But I have heard some people say it's really impressive, but nobody's played with it, huh?
Scaling technology has gotten really good.
Yeah.
Yes,
it's just built into your TVs now, and so it's it being able to analyze those things. If you give the algorithm enough data to work with, it can figure out a lot of things. So I've definitely seen some of what Adobe's done with basically being able to, the smart replacement tools are mind blowing.
Yeah.
Of what it figures out. Yeah.
So all I have is Adobe samples, but I can give you an example. This is from Adobe's blog. This is a panorama. It's kind of an interesting choice. It's basically snow on trees, so it's black and white, mostly white, but it's enhanced with super resolution. The inset images show crops zoomed in, so 1-to-1 crops, and as you can see, you could see some softening, but it's pretty surprisingly good, given that this is doubled the pixel density.
It's incredible. I've had to go back to a lot of the pictures I took with my second or third digital camera, and which were a little too soft to really want to print anything more than postcard size, and damn, it's not perfect, but you would have to really be a nitpicker in order to see the difference between this 2002 picture that has been then further processed in Photoshop, and then with that extra data, given the usual enhancements you would do with a high resolution image, and now suddenly I have a much better selfie of myself with my dad, who died 10 years ago, than I did 10 years ago. Right. It is mind-boggling.
Micah Sargent, who's in the chat room, says he's tried it, but he says it's not that different from what you can get on Pixelmator Photo on an iPad Pro. So I'll have to compare that. Here's another image from the Adobe blog.
I was just going to tell you to pull that image up, because that's the one, as we call it, tarjeta de bicicleta, or bicycle cards. If you pull that one up, that's the one that kind of shows it the best, I think.
So if you've used Photoshop before, or any resolution enhancing technology, you're familiar with bicubic resampling. That's what's on the left. On the right is the super resolution, and it's clear that they've improved on, these other systems that the dithering systems and so forth that we've had in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to see it against some dedicated, because a lot of dedicated scaling plugins do a pretty good job, and so I think it would be probably less dramatic. It might be better, but it would be less dramatic. There's been some, I can't think of the name of them off the top of my head, but some scaling plugins that are available for Photoshop that really specialize in that. Bicubic is really old.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So you're going, okay, well, I mean, it's good for A/B, but if they said this is the best plugin that's made for Photoshop that does scaling, or and then this is ours, that would mean more to me than showing me something that they wrote in 1991.
Yeah.
It really does. It really makes you think about where society's comfort zone is going to be in terms of synthetic improvements to imagery versus optical, straightforward numbers in, numbers out sort of improvements. I was watching a video about an academic paper about a technique for synthesizing photorealistic faces based on just one single view, and it's very, very clever the way it works. But the end result isn't that it pulls a 3D model. It's just that it keeps adjusting all the parameters of its own algorithms until it senses that it has a set of parameters that can generate this face. Then it matches the input source picture. And so we're not very far away from having that kind of a power in Photoshop, where let's say that you've got a picture of the picture of again me and my dad, and let's say that there is it was a selfie, and it's missing like part of his face, but because of this algorithm, it can create a really it can synthesize what this head look and face looks like in 3D and restore synthetically what's missing from the image. Will we be okay with the idea of this is not really my dad's forehead corner? This is a computer's guess at what it is, but it gave me a useful picture. I was thinking of that recently because I just find this interesting. I'll make this quick. That when you have the heritage that AI filter that can take a static photo of one of your like old relatives and turn it into just like an animated face that's like blinking and smiling. I've used it on like press photos from Hollywood stars of the 30s and 40s. I have not used it on like my mom or my dad, nor ever will I, because I don't want my memories of them to be contaminated by an algorithmic guess as what my dad's smile or what my mom like turning and blinking looked like. It's something that society really has to think about.
Yes, and you know what is going to come into play too. I think, we immediately go to the Photoshops and that because, well, that's the industry standard. But when you think of apps like Reface and 1B, which everyone thinks they're kind of jokes, the technology is going to help out a lot when it comes to law enforcement, missing cases. Like I remember on, strangely enough, a show that Leo did way, way, way back in the day when I saw the first lady constructing a clay head out of putting the little things on it. And then they wrapped it on, and we were all flabbergasted at how it would help them find a missing person. Now you imagine what we're going to be able to do with a single image and aging them and trying to find, has anybody seen this person? They're going to be roughly 32 years old now, and this is what they should look like. And oh my God, it's going to be crazy.
This is what this person would look like a scary clown or a woman or
right.
Because that's mostly, by the way, that's what's driving Reface and all of these. It's TikTok. Right. It's not.
Well, but also
it's not being driven by police work, I don't think. But you're right. It has an application.
The tech is there.
The tech is there. This is Reface, Reface.ai. It's an iPhone or Android phone. So you take a picture of your face, you then apply it to another body, and you could be. Is that how they do the Tom Cruise guy? I wonder.
Oh, there's so many. I did that Britney one, and I did the Beyonce one, and it's super scary.
I want to see you as Beyonce. Yeah.
Oh, I'll send it to you. It's super scary.
That's taking lemons and turning them into.
Well, have you seen? Someone posted a video of them taking cartoon characters and then pointing the machine learning at it, so that it would build a photorealistic version of the from the cartoon, work on it, just letting it generate this is what a physical person version of that cartoon character was. It's a little scary, but
we're going to enter a brave new world. And of course, Alex Lindsay and Office Hours is where you're going to go to find out what the hell people are doing. Filmmakers and it's amazing.
Yeah.
What's happening.
Well, one thing to say is that it's also going to probably void using video or photos as evidence within the next decade. So you're not going to be able to. It's going to, at first we'll say, oh, we really need to figure out some way to authenticate it, and then you're just going to get to a point where you can't prove it to a jury. You can't get a jury to believe just because you had an image or a video of that person that means anything. In the same way that DNA was absolute a couple decades ago, And now, jurors know better. Like they know that there's chain of custody. They know that there's, all these other things that occur that brings doubt back into the system. And the question is, when does it get to reasonable doubt? And so, that all these technologies are also going to make it much harder for law enforcement because they can't just use, here's a photo of that person walking through. No one's going to believe that anymore.
Well, they're forensic tools are going to catch up. They always do. The same reason why I can't just simply create a fake header for an email and say, oh, well, Alex sent me this email in which he promised to pay me $80,000 for 10 minutes of work. That's like, okay, well, let's take a look at these headers. Like, okay, it seems as though Alex was emailing from Croatia, and it helped through these other things. What I really want to see is that this is when I get my first thing I'm going to do when I get like an M1, a really, really powerful Mac or a really powerful desktop is I really, really want to do a deep fake in which you take all of these movies in like Amadeus, where F. Murray Abraham plays like 78-year-old Salieri, but also like 34-year-old, like his real age Salieri in the past. And I want to do a deep fake in which we take his now currently 78-year-old face and we replace like the makeup with the real thing. And see exactly how that works. Like also with Back to the Future, because they never make them look. They always make them look horrible. Because now we see Michael J. Fox and everybody else, and they look great. And they're 10 years older than they were like supposed to be in their late 40s with all that makeup. They're not as like weather beaten and haggard as the makeup artist made them out to be.
You've seen though Scorsese's The Irishman, where they de-aged Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci, and it was not great.
Well, but that's not using deep fakes. That's actually CG. So that was
really
tracking it. Yeah, that wasn't. Yeah. That wasn't deep fakes. In fact, some people have put up some of the ones that are more. They've put up deep fake versions of that movie, which I think actually look better than. I mean, they don't look perfect. They're not seamless, but the feeling of them looks better than.
Here I am as Rocky.
Yeah.
Does that look like me? I don't know.
That's pretty funny.
Some people there's some special effects people who use desktop software too. Remember when The Rock was in one of the Mummy sequences, the Scorpion King, and the CGI version of The Rock was like Sony PlayStation quality graphics, but in a feature film.
Scorpion
and
King,
they just spent Scorpion King, thank you. And so these 2 or 3 guys like spent an entire day just like redoing it all with deep fake, and it's like, okay, that's better. It's like so it's just a bunch of people who had nothing better to do in the afternoon than create a video that hopefully we get a couple of million clicks. Actually fix this thing that is so distractingly bad. That's I'm not a big fan of. Go ahead.
I was going to say what people have learned is by doing those quote unquote waste of time deep fakes and stuff on YouTube, they get hired by the CG houses. It is one of the best job applications. I won't say better than, spending all your money at Full Sail, but it's getting close.
I just saw a story, and I can't remember. It was, I think Carnegie Mellon had figured out one way to detect deep fakes in portraits anyway. And I imagine it could be extended to other things. And they were about 94% accurate, was to look at the eyes and to make sure if the lighting didn't match in the 2 eyes, right? So I'm thinking that as we get better at deep fakes, we'll get better at deep fake detection.
Yeah.
One would hope.
But by necessity.
And of course, if they've got a video of you robbing a bank, it would be prudent of your defense attorney to get this reface app and show the jury a video of you running up the steps at the Spectrum in Philadelphia, and everybody be happy then. Oh, you see, you can do anything.
But the bigger problem is when it's at lower stakes. I think I read a story recently where someone on the cheerleading team, a rival got her kicked off by producing a deep fake of this cheerleader vaping. Because, you're not supposed to be smoking, you're kicked off the team.
A mother. Yes.
Right, exactly. And that's the sort of stuff where you might not have the resources to fight it, or you're dealing with like a high school bureaucracy where they just want to move on to the next thing. They don't care about justice. That's the stuff that's going to really, really hose people. When people get fired in retribution style for videos that they can't disprove because they don't want to.
And I do note, though, that mother got caught.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and I think that the we're going to go through a phase where people don't know, and then I do think we're going to go through.
People understand.
We're going to evolve to where no one believes anything.
Yeah.
Like they don't believe anything that they see.
Did I mention I played Gollum in the Lord of the Rings sequel?
Did you? Do you have any footage?
Yeah, I do actually have some footage that can prove that. There I am. There I am as Gollum. That's pretty good.
I don't know if we can unsee that.
Does it look like me? I can't tell. I can't tell. I am wearing. Apparently, I'm wearing AirPod Pros, so it must be.
You are. I don't know what your workout regime is, but you are really cut there. That is.
Oh, so, Leo, this is the auto.
My Linux.
Precious 50-inch monitor. OLED.
This is.
Go ahead. We've got Alex Lindsay showing us.
This is the one I was talking about, the Rembrandt.
Yeah.
So but that is a cartoon character, basically, but they're using AI to essentially
style game.
That's a still, of course.
These are stills. No, these are, but when you look at what they're doing with it, it's calculating.
That's a little more sophisticated, isn't it? Yeah.
You're starting. Yeah. It's not a video. What I would say is it's not a video.
Is that Ricky Gervais?
Yet. Yeah, Ricky Gervais as
Grant.
Ulysses as Grant.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But
again, the key to all this is that it's not just morphing a photo. It is building the StyleGAN. I think StyleGAN 2 is the name of the algorithm. It knows how to synthesize like an entire head, and so with all these parameters. So what you're seeing there is the algorithm trying to figure out what parameters are correct to reproduce this face. And so now that once they have all those variables locked, now you can create things where, like, let's say that I'm in the studio and I'm looking off camera like this for whatever technical reason where that has to happen. I'm looking at the interviewer. If the producer then wants me to be looking directly at the camera, it could then, like, because all the parameters for generating my head are known quantities because they applied this algorithm to it, they can synthetically turn me so that I'm actually looking directly into the camera. It's a really, really powerful, and I wouldn't say scary, but definitely the applications for it's a long, long list.
And a lot of actors for the last decade have been getting scans of themselves all the time. So they want, because if you want to go back in time and use that actor, when they, so you have a flashback, you want to use the actor, and they were like, we don't even know what we're going to do with this, but we might as well gather it while you're getting older. So if you're a popular actor, those services in LA have been exist for quite some time to make sure that they capture them at different stages of their life, which makes this process even easier because they have the actual data to generate the to match back into it. So it's it's going to be really interesting to see where films go.
Actually, come to think of it, you probably couldn't get insurance these days for a film unless you did that with all the principal actors in case something happened.
I don't know if they've gone that far yet, but I don't know if they've gone that far yet, but they definitely. There's a lot of films I think that they wish they had done that.
Yeah.
Now, Alex, think about this real quick. There's very few actors in Hollywood right now that have more angles, faces, different looks, and screen time than you three.
I know.
You know what I mean? And that's funny, right? What are we at? 757 episodes later. There's enough data out there. I can make Andy be anything with the right computer.
Can you make Andy be Xena, Princess Warrior?
Oh God!
Actually, I'll give you a link to my OnlyFans. That's at the $10 tier. You get to see the cosplay.
You look good in the outfit there.
If I can look 10% as hot and capable as Xena in anything, I will take it.
I remember Dustin Hoffman in Tootsie said the only drawback to playing a woman is I'm so ugly. I would be such an ugly woman. Let's take a break. There is actually other Apple news. I thought this was a good conversation since when we get people like Doc Rock and Alex Lindsay on, it's really good to talk about these technologies. They're on the forefront. Alex Lindsay's Office Hours, youtube.com/Alex Lindsay. Although you can also, if you know how to capitalize just so, go to bit.ly/The Office Hours with a capital at the beginning of each word, TONH.
And it's starting to really take off.
Oh, really? More than before?
Well, we did this again. This Raspberry Pi thing we did, and we're doing more and more of this, where we're not just having. We had these kind of roundtable discussions, but what we've also gotten now into are kind of these lab work together. So for like 3 hours, we were sitting there building these Raspberry Pis and installing software and getting it to work and trading notes, and we're doing it with people all over the world, all at the same time. And
I'm gonna have to start watching. You just ruined my mornings. You realize?
Well, that's Saturday afternoon. That's our Saturday afternoon. Like Saturday now, like last Saturday was 10 hours of from the time we opened to the time we finished. And we had covered
people
in that
come and go, right? Nobody stays all 10 hours.
Some do. Probably 30, 40 probably stayed the whole time. We gave them breaks, but we talked about it. We had general discussion. We talked about education. We were learning how to use Resolve. And then we got into building Raspberry Pis. So it was a lot on a Saturday.
Your show is sponsored by astronaut diapers, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly.
Frankly, this show should be. That's Andy Ihnatko. He's on WGBH Boston, typically on a Friday. We'll find out this week when you're going to be on next. Great to have you. And filling in for Renee Ritchie this week, the beautiful, the lovely, the talented Doc Rock. So nice.
I kind of need an astronaut diaper right about now.
So, yeah, we're going to do a bathroom break coming up, bio break coming up. YouTube.com/DocRock to watch him at work. Smoke them if you got them, fellas, because we're going to tell you about Uber for Business, a great way to reward clients or even colleagues for doing things you want them to do. You all know Uber. Uber Eats brings you food. Uber Rides brings you rides. Uber for Business lets you buy vouchers for rides or order meals from restaurants you love. Say you want to have colleagues come to or maybe some potential clients come to a Zoom meeting, some 3-hour or maybe even a 10-hour Zoom meeting in which you're putting a Raspberry Pi together of a Saturday afternoon. One nice way to get them to come would be say, hey, here's a coupon. We'll buy you lunch. We'll buy you coffee. We'll buy you dinner. We'll buy you a ride home afterwards. Over 150,000 companies use Uber for Business, both to improve customer and employee satisfaction. It's a great way to tell somebody you appreciate them, a great way to spiff them if they're staying late after work. Give them a ride home. With vouchers from Uber for Business, you can add $20 to their personal Uber accounts so they can easily order meals through Uber Eats before the meeting. You can offer a voucher for a ride when a customer makes their first purchase or spends a certain amount. The nice thing about Uber for Business is very easy for you to set up. Any company can sign up. It costs you nothing. You'll immediately start delivering extra value to the people who matter most to their business. Vouchers are simple to send and to redeem. You have total control over who gets them when they expire. You can even say, I only want to cover half the meal or half the ride, any portion thereof. And it's very easy to share vouchers. They're shared via text or email, and your customers or colleagues can redeem them with a single tap. Best of all, you only pay for the rides they take or the meals they order. It really is a clever idea. Samsung, Coca-Cola, Zoom, lots of companies use Uber for Business to make clients and customers happy. Now, if you want to get started, go to Uber, U-B-E-R, uber.com/MacBreak. For a limited time, you'll get a $50 voucher when you create your first vouchers campaign and spend at least $200. Nice deal. Go to uber.com/MacBreak to learn more. Uber.com/MacBreak. Terms and conditions apply. Uber for Business. What is that URL again? Uber.com/MacBreak. Thank you, Uber, for your support. Thank you, dear MacBreak Weekly listener, for supporting us by using that address specifically. Uber.com/MacBreak. No wonder Alex Lindsay doesn't believe in Zoom fatigue. 10 hours. Holy cow. That's cray-cray. I got to get in there, though. They're there because they're having fun, right? They don't want to leave. They're having a good time.
What's funny was I didn't think that anyone would want to watch us build the Raspberry Pi, but people were like, "Oh, I just turned it on and just couldn't stop watching."
Yeah.
And what happens is when you have 15 or 20 people with multi-camera setups, we're all cutting back and forth. We're cutting back and forth between everyone working on it. It's not just like everyone really looking into a webcam, and so it's kind of turned.
How many people were building?
About 30. Yeah, and what happens is that when you we're going to get into Arduino and probably Swift programming and Unreal Engine and everything else, and the the interesting thing is that you learn so fast because someone's right ahead of you, like 10 seconds ahead. Like I was like, oh, why am I getting this black screen? Oh, that happens on this thing. And I'm like, okay. And then somebody else had a problem with their internet connection. And I said, oh, I just did that. I just had that problem. And so as everybody learning it together, and the developer of PlayOutB, Jonas Detel, was actually in the thing with it. So the PlayOut system that we're using on the Raspberry Pi that I'm using here, this little software on the Raspberry Pi that was like the developer of that was in the meeting with us. And so we're, able to kind of figure it all out, with someone who can really answer the questions as well as from each other, and there's a bunch of people that have already built it. And so it's a fascinating way to learn. It's just very different. And so in addition to the general conversations that we have, we're getting into these kind of big group sessions of learning how to do something together. That you would, a lot of us get stopped, from building. I tell people to build Raspberry Pis. I had never built one before.
So do people ask questions? I mean, you don't have to build it. The thing is complete, but you're saying you're adding.
Well, we got all
doing
the pieces.
GPIO stuff.
Like we got the. I mean, we got it in pieces. When
got
we
a bunch of hats and.
We were putting on the, putting the sinks, the heat sinks on, and we're wiring it up, and we're.
And then are people saying, "Oh, geez, I'm stuck. What are you guys?" Because everybody's watched YouTube videos of people doing that. One person.
No, it's
the idea of them all doing it at the same time is kind of interesting.
No, that's the whole thing. Is that every time someone gets stuck? I mean, we had a range of electrical engineers to folks that didn't even know what a Raspberry Pi was 2 weeks ago.
Interesting.
And so the thing is that what makes it powerful is exactly that, is that we are learning from each other, and you're just not getting stopped because everybody figured out everybody who was playing on air figured it out by the end, and the answering the questions and figuring it all out.
Is that why
together.
it went 10 hours? Because you couldn't end until everybody booted?
No, it was like 2.5 hours of building the Raspberry Pi.
Oh, okay.
That was the last thing, because we spent an hour learning Resolve. So the guys from Ripple Training,
Holy
the actual
cow.
guys who make it, were doing. We were in the color page of Resolve, so we were learning how to do color correction there. And then before that, we had 2 hours of discussion about the future of education and how online education with teachers and education technologists, and then we had the general discussion before that. So there's a lot of Saturday's a big long day.
Somebody in the chat room is asking where you got the deep fake pictures you showed earlier. What the link was?
Oh, that's on Board Panda. I'll put actually into the Board
Everything's
Panda.
on Board Panda.
It's the only
it's
magazine for
amazing
pandas, as it turns out.
Yeah, all I did was search. I think I searched cartoon. What did I searched something like deep fake no Photoshop cartoon. That was
deep fake no Photoshop cartoon. Okay,
it's not what you know; it's how well you Google.
Yeah, really, it's really true.
True story.
Okay, we're gonna do.
It's not how well you code; it's how well you find the code you need and cut and copy and paste it.
Yeah, that's truer than you might imagine. I'm still kind of shocked when I hear, but people just Google it or search it on Stack Exchange and paste it in. And the reason we know that is because every once in a while there'll be sample code with massive exploit, massive security flaws in it. And it's apparently been pasted in everywhere. Everybody's just used it without even looking at it. Just going, yeah, that must work. It works. It's good.
What's this massive block of hex that's part of this simple simple Python
just
code?
Paste it in.
Don't worry about it.
Just paste it in. Okay, we're going to do a little mini speed round. Well, it doesn't have to be that speedy, but a little round of quick stories. Apple is suing a former Big Shot, actually, employee for leaking to media. We talk about leaks all the time. And leakers having stories, people like John Prosser and Mark Gurman. I always wonder if they think about the consequences to the people who leak to them, especially if it's an Apple employee. This is a former materials lead at Apple. He worked in the design team. Apple says that on his last day, which is in 2019, he downloaded a bunch of stuff. Simon Lancaster downloaded a bunch of stuff outside of his job's scope and then sold it to a media outlet. They don't say which media outlet. And
I've been trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
I think Apple
I've been trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
I think Apple almost has to prosecute that.
Absolutely.
Totally within their rights.
This is not like having a beer and telling someone what's coming next. This is like really theft.
Yeah. No, that's outright theft. Corey Lewandowski did that to Google and ended up owing them $172 million. So it's not something.
Taking self-driving technology and creating your own self-driving startup and then selling it to Uber. Yeah. That doesn't.
And that's what Lancaster did. I mean, if you go deep into the story, this dude, like, he was incredible, right? So before he left, he invested in companies, materials companies that would possibly be used by Apple for some things. So he was double dipping. He's getting paid to create materials for this stuff, but then he had a startup. Let's just call it that. Okay, then after he started doing things with the startup that was kind of like trying to force contracts on his. I'm leaving, guys. I see you. I got 2 weeks notice. Okay. Oh, by the way, I need to go to that meeting where you guys are talking about, XYZ. And he goes into the meeting and tries to steer a product towards a situation that would help his startup make more money. He was brazen. He's like those movies where you see the guy and it's like, man, that was an incredible scheme. Genius. Oh, genius keeps sticking his hand back into the cookie jar. Yeah. Okay. Now genius got all of the Keebler things in his hand. He can't get his hand out because he went too far. Had he stopped when he already was making the money, he was fine. And then the last thing he did, which was insane, he sent some of these nefarious infos with the computer that was given to him by the company. It was with company property. He didn't even have enough common sense to move it to something that didn't belong to them, so they couldn't maybe necessarily confiscate it back. So he like triple, quadruple dipped like that Rodney Dangerfield, triple Lindy to dump into the
triple Lindy.
Yeah. It was egregious.
Egregious is the word. Although I imagine Apple pursues these anyway, but something like this, they're really going to have to.
Yeah.
I think no one thinks about what happens to the people, like you said. But even for me, I think bigger is no one thinks about what it does to fans like us. I personally miss Christmas because now when we get our device, we don't hurt everything. And Apple only has 1 or 2 surprises. But I used to love the days of like, it's launch day. Let's go find all of the cool stuff it can do.
It's interesting that they went after a civil suit, not a criminal prosecution, because this is also criminal. Lewandowski both was sued by Google, but also was tried in court.
Well, they don't have to convince a DA to prosecute. They can just simply file on their own.
Yep.
And they can put a lot more hurt on this person by saying, here's how much money you owe us because here's the contract that you yourself signed and things you agreed not to do. Right. And given the value of Apple.
Criminal is easier to convict after the civil wins, too. So if you win the civil, you can still go criminal after. Now there's providence.
You're right. Well, the rules of evidence with civil is different than the rules with criminal, so you don't have Fifth Amendment and stuff like that. So there's some advantages there, and it's going to cost him $100,000 just to defend himself at best. So it's like just to defend himself against something that it's already pretty clear he did.
Given the number of leaks. Mark Gurman seems to know everything that's going on. I'm surprised this doesn't happen more often. Or do you think Apple's throwing the book at this guy just to...
I think they're going to go after the leakers after they squeeze this dude. Yeah. And he's going to be like, okay, so who was it? Who's Sonny? Who's, did you tell Mark Gurman?
You can't go after the journalists, obviously. They're protected. Sources are protected. And I wonder, I've talked to Mary Jo Foley, who used to do a lot of leaks. And she says, this is something that's sometimes very hard because... you're not tricking somebody into leaking. They're volunteering it for a variety of reasons. But if they get caught, this is their end of the world for them.
The rumor was that like when Steve Jobs got there, Apple leaked like a sieve, and he brought in three senior people. I don't know what level they were, very high up, and said, hey, we've got this new thing coming up, and here's the code name, and I just want to make sure you're clear. It's really important that doesn't get out, and if that code name gets, if this gets out, I'm going to fire you all. I'm not going to try to figure it out. And the code name got out, and they all got fired. And then no one talked about anything. It wasn't even a code name for a product. Like it was literally just a trap. And
I can attest to this. Before Steve came back, I was getting a lot of leaks from product managers that clearly were trying to manipulate me, who didn't know that I had a lot more sources that they thought I did. That every time that they gave me information about, Rhapsody's in big trouble. It's absolutely not going to ship, or this new printer system is not going to work at all. That, okay, well, I know that you and the person that you're tattling on are kind of fighting for resources and fighting for employees and fighting for budget. I think that you're just trying to undermine this other person, and I'm not going to want to be a part of that. And that pretty much stopped as soon as Steve Jobs came back. But the complaint doesn't mention who the leaker was corresponding with. They only referred to this person as the correspondent. I'd be surprised if it were an actual member of the media. It sounds like it would be more of an analyst, someone who's writing analyst reports for investors, because the stakes are quite that high. If you are a real journalist, you're right when you say that people are free to talk to me about whatever they want to talk to. Whether they want to talk about, but once I start to be an active agent, saying the complaint says that the correspondent was actually, giving this person like a wish list, a hunting list, saying here's documents, here's information that I definitely want to have. That becomes a little bit more squirrely. Probably not in terms of legal prosecution, but definitely in terms of you're committing an ethical violation within the context of this just simply being, what's the shape of the new phone going to be like? This is not about ferreting out powerful people who are manipulating who are abdicating their responsibilities and hurting people. This is about the shape of the new phone. This could really, really affect your ability to do business, both to get hired and get people to talk to you. I mean, Renee would probably have other things to say about this as well. But there are, at any given moment, when I know a lot of things that people have told me conversationally that they knew that I was not going to talk about, or people have told me things in confidence just so I can understand something a little bit better. And the only reason why I keep getting this sort of stuff is that if I agree not to spill the beans, they know that I'm not going to spill the beans. That's been my reputation. I'm always really, really curious as to the sources that people like Mark Gurman have, that they're continually able to get the straight dope, because I can't do that. If I would be burning so many people if I were to. Again, I would not want to end somebody's career because, hey, wow, looks like the chamfer angle on the iPhone 13 is going to be 0.04% less chamfery than the last one. Okay, whatever. It's not important.
Yeah. And actually, Renee did a great deep dive on his channel. And to your point, he's right. A lot of the stuff that people leak are just useless and become sort of clickbaity, and they're not really giving any information or any value or actually being helpful. They're just trying to be first. And that, I don't know, value seeking from that just kind of needs to go away in the worst way, because it's not helpful to anyone. It's not helpful to the industry. It causes full-on manufacturers to listen to some leak and then try to do some stuff that Apple was completely faking about. And then you find out later when the real product comes out that the guys who thought they were listening, just made a bunch of stuff that will never fit or never work because it was a fake leak. So, yeah, I just wish this part of the industry would go away, because you're not doing anything, bro.
Yeah. Or the data you have is going to be dead in about a month anyway. Apple and other companies change their minds so many times. How many times have even the best reputation leakers have said, air tags are going to be released on this date. There's going to be an event at this time. And Apple changes their mind.
AirTag's been coming out for 3 years. And then now when I press, she says, you don't get mad when Apple changes their mind.
Codename Godot.
I have to say, I have no compunction about repeating leaks that Mark Gurman and others have. But when somebody will DM me, and it happens from time to time, or message me and say, sometimes it's from a well-known leaker, I have images, I always ignore them, because I just don't, I have a hard time ethically. I just don't want to do that. But on the other hand, we report on leaks all the time. It's just somebody else's leaks, not mine.
Again, I'm not a reporter in politics who writes about voter suppression.
Right.
That's something else. This is again about, okay, well, who's going to be making the radio in the next iPhone?
Does the public,
if you're an analyst, that's important.
The public has a right to know if the Vietnam War is going to be lost and we're still fighting it. But I don't know if the public's right to know what the chamfered angles on the phone are really supersedes Apple's interest in secrecy, or Doc Rock's interest in having Christmas Day be a surprise.
Yeah, all I can say is that it just doesn't interest me.
Yeah,
and it kind of burns me.
I don't want to get in that business. Yeah.
When Gizmodo did something very illegal by buying a phone from someone who did not own that phone. Yeah. But I got a lot. Actually, the head of Gizmodo, the publisher of Gizmodo, like named me like, oh well, this is the reason why people like Ihnatko aren't going to do stuff like that is because he doesn't want to damage his relationship with Apple. And it's like, well, no. Number one,
they're showing how independent they are by illegally purchasing stolen phone.
And that was so stupid. That was so stupid because I was in that situation earlier, as a matter of fact, and the answer to that is you don't buy the phone, you agree to pay this person a fee to meet you at a hotel room
and show it to you.
Give you and show it to you for 2 hours. Yeah. Then you're absolutely the other thing is that even if you're going to do that, they had their hands on. I will wind this up quickly. I'm sorry, but I'm still amazed that they had their hands on one of the most innovative changes that Apple had made to the iPhone since the beginning, which is an entirely new antenna system based on the frame of the phone itself. They did not figure that out. All they got was like, hey, look, it's flat and it's rounded. Right. It's got rounded edges. Right. It's like, if you're going to expose yourself like that, at least bring an expert on board. Yeah, exactly. Bring an engineer who can look at it and say, ooh, they did not put these black seams on the edge of the case for no reason whatsoever. I bet that they're doing this. Anyway, it's still
the short-sighted play, honestly, I swear to you, the short-sighted play, and this is why I tell all my YouTube people, don't get caught in vanity metrics. The vanity metrics was, this is going to get us millions of clicks.
Right.
So these millions of clicks is going to be worth this amount of money.
Right.
How much do you suppose it would have been worth to not say a thing and go, yo, Samsung, check this out? Ooh. Which one you think made more money?
Ooh.
Just think about it.
That's a good point. So, just give it to Samsung.
Vanity clicks are ignorant and short-sighted.
And fundamentally, I think that they undermine the validity of the press, and of that person. And I think that that's the thing that's really can be damaging is that people keep on asking, like, why aren't people believing what they see? Well, it's because they keep on getting fed things that aren't true. Yeah. Or aren't there. And
that's a good point.
And so when we try to, and I get that we're all racing to try to make sure that we get out there first. I mean, I talked about the Stanford article. I wrote an article that's actually up on Medium yesterday. So about how, when you just go grab something as a press person, I think some of our responsibility is, we can talk about rumors and what we project, but we're very clear on the show that we're projecting it. Like we're guessing. And I think that when people put it out as truth, they just have to be really sure that it's true, because it's not something you're going to get back. People are kind of slowly not trusting what they see, and that becomes harder and harder to fight. If you keep on putting it out there, it's like crying wolf.
Hey, I didn't know you had Gear Media Tech on Medium.
That's my. I did it a couple of years ago, but I barely published to it. I felt like that article. I felt like the article that
because we had talked about this. In fact, you came on TWiT specifically to talk about Zoom fatigue.
Yeah,
you talked about the Stanford release.
So I really thought through it a fair bit, and then decided that we needed to write something. I needed to write something about it. I'm going to write another article. This article just really goes after just really point by point addresses the Stanford article. And fundamentally, I think this gets into the press not researching the research. Because it came from Stanford, everyone just reported it as truth. And it's not even close. And even at the bottom, it says, well, this is all theoretical. You're like, why did you write it? Like, the whole thing is theoretical. And so as someone who actually does this every day, all day, I thought it would be useful to rebut the article. So anyway, so it's up on Medium, but it's a good example of the press latching onto something that, as Doc said, is going to get them clicks because it's about Zoom.
Stanford's
going to get people excited.
From Stanford's PR department, and they knew this would be very hot. This is of course why they released it,
and it's completely just smoke. Like there's no there at all, and so it doesn't address any of the real issues that occur, and it actually does damage. Like it, and so this is where we have to be. Everyone has to stop. To Doc's point, start thinking long term about authenticity, about people believing what you're saying, and not just going for that short term click, whether it's a small company or a big university or someone else. Of really trying to make sure that what comes out of what you're doing actually makes sense.
Yep. You know what's funny is I tell people all the time that if Zoom fatigue was for real, if I told you that if you had to come to 30 10-hour Zoom meetings in a row and it was going to get you a full Bitcoin and I was just going to sit there and stare at you the entire time, how many people would line up?
$60,000? You bet.
Thank you. Holla back, right? If you got something to say, there is zero.
I could do 8 of those.
Right? If you were having a conversation with, say, Steve Jobs on how to reinvent the next tech company that's going to turn you into some multi-billionaire, you would sit there. So fatigue comes from you got nothing important to say. If you're saying something important, the people listening to you are
That's a very good
fatigued.
point. Yeah.
Well, and no one wants to take the responsibility. They want to be like, oh, but my people are going to be Zoom fatigue. Well, then be charismatic. Be Leo. Be Andy. Andy could do 10-hour Zoom call on comic books and nobody would not turn off because his depth, his knowledge, his presence, his chops. You know,
it's not it's not the container; it's the content. You know, that's
that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
It's that it really is a. What it has exacerbated is the fact that we hate watching slide decks. You know, so when people use Zoom for that creates a lot of fatigue. But that created fatigue when we were in person.
Yes.
That was painful.
Yes.
And so I think that and I don't we've belabored that one a lot, but
this was supposed to be the speed round. Obviously, I picked the wrong story to kick it off.
We dropped into it. We wandered off into a rat hole. But yeah, I think that the press is constantly this short term trying to find clicks is killing it.
91 point, according to Cell, 91%, actually 92% of iPhone owners plan to buy another iPhone when they next upgrade, and that's up 1.4% from 2019. Samsung, it's dropped from 85% to 74%. Samsung owners are less loyal than they were. iPhone owners are more loyal than they were. This is, of course, according to Cell, which is probably not the best name. How do you spell that? I have no idea, but it was their brand loyalty survey. Apple, remember when Facebook was complaining about Apple's privacy labels? Everybody's complaining about it because users now know all the information they're giving up. They said, well, Apple doesn't do it. Well, now Apple does. Their transparency page, which is at apple.com/privacy/labels, has privacy labels just like they require of everybody else for every single app that Apple offers. Including apps, this is a great way to find out about apps I've never heard of, like Beddit. Apple has a Beddit app. They don't collect any data, just so you know. So this is good job, Apple, right?
It's really important because not only do they really have to do this to fight off regulators who are saying, hey, you're giving yourself an advantage, that you're making your third-party developers do things you're not putting yourself under. It also gives consumers a baseline to look at, that when you look at the Apple Music app and you see, ooh, wow, it really is tracking a whole bunch of things. Maybe I shouldn't be concerned that Spotify is also tracking a lot of the same data. So that not that there's an equivalence between Apple's data collection and any other companies, but it's like when you start to see, oh my God, why is there tungsten in this package of pre-made bagels? Then when you find out that, okay, no, everything has tungsten in it. I picked out tungsten because it's a funny element, but it makes you think that maybe this is not just some completely irresponsible, dangerous, and deadly product, that there is something in the manufacturing process that has been certified as being okay for this application. So yeah, there's nothing but good. And it's so easy to find, so easy to use. This is nothing but a 10 out of 10 for consumers.
If you bought a bra for your AirPods Max hoping it would reduce battery drain, you might have noticed it hasn't. But now there's an upgrade to the firmware of your AirPods Max that does fix that battery drain issue. I wonder if Apple actually ever admitted there was a battery drain issue. The bra just looks so weird.
It's a thing.
Weird.
It's a choice.
It's a choice.
It's a satchel.
It's not a bra. It's a European satchel.
They couldn't afford to give you a hard side case for the small amount of money they managed to manufacture that for. So I don't know what people are complaining about.
Let's see. I think Arizona passed its bill that would require Apple to open or to allow non-app stores. I don't know if that has yet been appealed, but
yeah. I'm not sure
it
if it's
hasn't
been
passed
signed
yet, right? It hasn't. It's not passed.
One bill was passed. I can't remember which state. Maybe it was in Arizona. They're lobbying.
South Dakota lost.
South Dakota lost. Somebody said, "Oh, the bill. It advanced. Never mind. Maybe it's advanced.
Yeah. It went to the House. I think it's
okay. So it's gotten farther than the North Dakota one. It has. The House voted 31-29 in favor of the bill, but now I guess it has to go to the Arizona State Senate. And then
what's going to be funny is when people pick this stuff and say they actually win for whatever reason, like East Texas is the kind of thing that would win. And then Apple goes, okay, cool, we're out. And then what is everybody going to feel? Wait, you mean I can't get an Apple thing now because my people chased them away over something that they didn't really know?
What would the reaction be if Apple said, well, we're not going to sell iPhones in Arizona anymore? That's not going to happen.
I think that the interesting thing is business wise, if Apple is providing a space for people to do this, if they can't charge for that space, what else could they charge for? Like all the bits being moved, or all the there's a lot of they're going to have to figure something out. It doesn't mean that they have to provide it for free, So it's like a mall. It's like saying, well, it only costs this much money to manage my stall of the mall, so I should only have to pay for that. But you're still paying for janitorial services and security and the infrastructure and the electricity and all the activities that happen in the main area and everything else. And I think that the numbers that people threw out, someone threw out some insane number like, it only costs Apple $100 million to support the store. Well, that doesn't count like all the engineers that work on the libraries that everyone's using to build that, to make that work, which is probably more like a couple $100 million a month, and so
yeah. But if somebody wants to put a pop-up shop in the parking lot, I think they should be allowed to. I mean, that's on Android. You can do that. You're warned if you're going to turn off the, if you're going to allow unsupported apps from an unsupported store.
What they're going to want is all the same. They're going to want all the same security.
Well, they don't get it. That's why Android warns you like crazy when you do it, and you're right. There are problems.
But that's what they're fighting. They're fighting. They want to have it. They want to be first. First nation status.
Well, they can't do that.
But they also want it to be free.
I think. I think Apple could solve the problem if they wanted to by just putting that checkbox. We'll see.
I think they're going to have to make an adaptation because this is not going to go away. It's going to be a problem internationally as well. And I think that if they were to at least modify things so that people would still be limited to the App Store for installing apps, but content could be installed from a third-party seller or third-party transaction company, that might get people off their backs. Because right now, I think that this is the year 2 of Apple having to finally take a look at how they're running the App Store. They've been running it without any influence, without any need to respond to any outside pressure whatsoever. Now they're going to have to really listen to, here's what developers and regulators are really, really steamed about, and you're going to have to start revisiting all these rules. Does the fact that the fact that they changed their percentages in the last year in reaction to the Fortnite lawsuit, this is not, like I keep saying, that's not something that they had already planned. That's not something they said, oh, well, gosh, I think we have been doing this wrong. Because out of the goodness of our hearts, we're going to change this. It was because of legal pressure that they were forced to do this. So I don't think it's going to last. Among other things, there are lobbyists they're really applying huge pressure. Their argument, which I've been asking people who know the law, because I don't, that the big problem with this law is that it might be unconstitutional because of the interstate commerce.
I'm sure there'll
be
appeals. Yeah, I'm sure there'll be.
But nonetheless, it's pressure, and Apple's going to want to find a solution other than fighting it out state by state.
I doubt they're worried about the state stuff, but they probably would be worried about federal stuff, and there are absolutely investigations going on at the federal level as well. And then there's Russia.
Multi-step indemnity clause. If you do a multi-step indemnity clause, I'm talking like 8, 9, 10, maybe 15 steps where you got to. Yes, I know. When you want to delete stuff in certain apps, you got to tell it 12 times you want to delete it. If you take this app and you put this on that didn't come from the App Store, your warranty is voided or you get less warranty. Do you agree? Do you make it just such an irritant that nobody wants to put that crap on there? But you can say, hey, but we're doing it. If they really want to put it on there, they just have to agree to these 10 pages of we're not responsible, and then you're okay. That's maybe an easy way to do it. but I don't know if that works.
And then there's Russia. I don't know. How's your Cyrillic? I'm not sure I can read this, but it's I can tell you what it says. You remember iPhone? You see the iPhone word there? That's a real word. According to Mac Rumors, who apparently has some Russian translators on staff, Apple has agreed to show users a prompt. This was a request by the Russian government to install. The Ministry of Digital Affairs said you have to install these special Russian apps. Apple has reportedly agreed to show a user a prompt when first setting up a device in Russia to pre-install government-approved apps. This is from the Russian publication Vedomosti.
It's not forcing users that they must install certain government apps. It is that during the setup process, the user has to be offered their selection of certain apps that were created by Russian companies. Certainly, things that are complying with Russia's rules on the internet. So it's not
necessarily spy apps. By the way, we shouldn't just say it's Russian government apps. It's what Russia's trying to do is foster home development of apps. And so these apps are by Russian developers, as you know. It's not like special spying
they have
software.
They have all these Russian hackers that they have to find other jobs for.
And Apple does say it would be equivalent to jailbreaking to do this, but I think this is maybe a good compromise. And this is like the browser ballot in Europe. You give people a choice, and if they don't feel like they want to do it, according to Opensignal, the iPhone 12 is actually slower. At both 5G and LTE than any Android device. Samsung dominates the rankings for the top 25 fastest 5G smartphones.
And this greatly affects the 12 blocks in the United States that you actually get.
Well, it's not just, they say it's not just 5G, it's also LTE, but you do see an increase. Apple 5G smartphone users see the greatest jump in download speeds in 5G areas. So you do get a bigger improvement from Apple phones, but nonetheless, according to this,
but they started from way behind. I mean, in fairness, it's like the biggest improvement, but they were the furthest behind.
Right.
So they didn't actually catch up with Android.
Right.
But those of us who will probably never see 5G is
who cares? Right.
Yeah, whatever.
Right. Yeah, who cares? But if your only goal in buying a smartphone were to have, I want the one that's fastest 5G. You probably shouldn't buy an iPhone.
Because the distance between I know that the distance between 45 megs a second and 55 megs a second is going to make a difference to everybody.
I agree. This summer, like millions and millions of people worldwide are going to find out what happened to mobile broadband while they were at home. I certainly have not used my hotspot I probably more. Today is the 1 year anniversary, or rather yesterday was the 1 year anniversary of the last time I was more than 2 miles away from my house. So this is a lot of people are going to have to figure out like what new towers have been installed. I understand there's a new CVS in town. I'm excited about checking it out. Now that I've actually hit the 1 year anniversary, I will take my bike on longer bike rides. I just something about like ADHD wanted me to say, okay, at least make it to a year. But yeah, a lot of people are going to figure out what changes have been made to infrastructure in the past year because a lot of this stuff has just not been used.
I have to admit, my problem now is that I go days without leaving, and I go, I need some more coffee. We ran out of coffee today this morning because I was like, do I really have to leave the house? I got this all figured out now. I got this all figured out now.
Only you, Alex. I'm getting my first shot tomorrow. I can't wait to leave the house. Yay! 9th. You're going to get to watch me decline through the day tomorrow because I'm getting it before the shows at 9:30 a.m. Windows Weekly, I'm going to start looking a little peaked. By the end of Twig, I might be fainting. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know.
Do you know which brand you're getting?
I don't know yet. It's a 2-shot, so I know it's not the Johnson & Johnson. But it's a double shot. But they haven't told me yet. I'm sure I'll know. Unless they blindfold me, I'm sure I'll find out once.
It's not instant coffee. It's not a taste test.
He never has a second shot at home.
This has a certain fruity quality that the Moderna lacks.
Opie's making a deal with Apple Studios. First look film deal. What? That's Opie, isn't it?
Opie.
Opie,
yes, always.
Ron Howard. He'll always be Opie to me.
Thank you.
He and his partner Brian Grazer have made a deal to produce a slate of scripted movies exclusively for Apple. They've locked in Viggo Mortensen, Colin Farrell, and Joel Edgerton to lead an international ensemble cast for the MGM Thai cave rescue drama 13 Lives. Those 13 little kids. I hope Elon Musk plays a little role in this movie. I think it'd be very funny. So there's going to be a lot more movies. Ron Howard's been working with Grazer for 36 years as Imagine. You've seen those Imagine films.
And the cracks are building quickly in Hollywood.
It's really interesting, yeah.
It's when you and I'm sure that it was expensive.
And everybody and their brother looked at Netflix and said, we got to do our own original content, right? That's been such a success. Netflix transitioned from DVD by mail to you got to see what's new on Netflix, and I think they're sustaining the quality. Boom, boom, boom. Look at all the Oscar nominations for them.
And part of it now is that HBO is now HBO Max is normalizing it, with what they're doing with day and date releases, and so Amazon possibly will turn the corner at some point and produce a bunch of they've had a couple of things that have done well, but Disney of course is just crushing it, and then of course Apple. I mean, I'm kind of interested to see what happens with Foundation. It's either going to be amazing or a horrible train wreck, and I just can't figure out which one.
Can't wait though. We'll all be watching.
I can't wait. Oh no, we're all. There's going to be watch parties. There's going to be there's.
Look at the. It's funny because I get screeners because I'm in the Screen Actors Guild. I get screeners for all the movies for the Screen Actors Guild Award. Yeah. And most of them I go, I already saw it because they're all on Netflix.
Right.
They're all on Netflix. So Best Picture nominees yesterday. Mank is Netflix, right? Nomadland was that Netflix? I can't remember. I saw it on streaming.
I think it's Hulu.
Yeah. Hulu, maybe. Okay, yeah, that's right. It's Hulu. Trial of Chicago 7, Netflix. This is a different world. Of course, it is the year of COVID, but everybody's got to be looking at this and saying, boy, this not only is it money-making, it's prestigious.
Yeah, that's exactly what Steven Spielberg was on about like a year or two ago.
He didn't want it.
Yeah, exactly. It was less about the legitimacy of making a movie and releasing it on streaming as a fact, like for Oscar consideration. There's a difference between how many voters are going to be able to see a movie that has been on Netflix for 5 months versus how many actually were able to leave the house, went to a movie theater, saw even a setup screening for it, and come back in. He felt as though streaming movies would have an unfair advantage. But okay.
Imagine has apparently had deals with Apple for a while. They did the Peanuts in Space, Secrets of Apollo 10. I missed that one. Dads, the documentary. They're going to premiere Peanuts' 70th anniversary documentary. That I will watch. There's an upcoming docu-series called The Supermodels. They have a deal with Lin-Manuel Miranda on a movie called Tick, Tick, Boom. Good name.
Wow. It's a remake of a really, really good movie.
Oh, okay. Lee Daniels directing a reinterpretation of another really good movie, Terms of Endearment. He made Hillbilly Elegy for Netflix. No Oscars for him, but for that. But that's a smart move on Apple's part. And you're right. Can you imagine the bidding war that went on? And creators must love it, Alex. It's
never been a better time.
Yeah,
never been a better time to be a creator right now.
Apple has made it an absolute point, and I appreciate them for this. I used to clown them for it because they kind of take it too far sometimes, but I'll give them credit for at least trying. They're going out of their way to make sure there is full rainbow representation in all of the content they're creating.
Yep.
So giving Lee Daniels a shot is not that he doesn't deserve it. He's sick with it, period. But it's still an upward battle. Do no one please get this twisted. It is still an upward battle for people like myself. So to see Lee Daniels coming in,
isn't that great?
They put Oprah on right away. Karen, aka Whoopi, has been, a prime creator for them for quite a long time. So yes, I got to give Apple credit for that, and they're just amazing at it.
And it's not just Apple. I mean, The Five Bloods. The Five Bloods.
The Five Bloods
was Netflix.
That was so good.
Did you like that? I love Spike Lee, and I love all those actors, and I really wanted to like the film, and I did not like it.
Okay, maybe that's what it is. I was more in love with the
The actors.
people in the
God,
process,
I love those actors.
and Spike Lee. Yeah. But yes, the overall picture itself, not one of his
Not the best script. Not the best script ever.
Okay, that's good.
When
that's
they blew the guy's arms and legs off and he's just lying there, I thought, okay, that's actually literally where I stopped. It was like, okay, and apparently it wasn't the last time. Let's see, moving on. The Mac SSD wear problem, which I think really is probably an issue with the measurement tools. Ben Lovejoy, writing in 9 to 5 Mac, says it's probably exaggerated. Actually, the piece was because Linus Tech Tips and others on Twitter had said we're seeing a lot of wear. But there's an article at Help Desk Geek that explains, no, what you're looking at isn't really going to be a problem. So I guess if you care about this, you'll follow it. I'm not worried about it. I have an M1 Mac SSD.
And no one's going to hold the machine that long. That's the part that's crazy. It's like a lot of the wear conversations were like, well, in 10 years, blah, blah. I'm like, we're in a different spot now, bro. It's not like 10 years, 2 years ago.
It's a legit concern, though, because this, you can't replace it. This is solder, it's part of the motherboard. So it's not like you could put a new one in if it did wear out. Right. So
right. But if it was on a, say, $2,000 machine, I might be more irritated. Right. But fully loaded, maxed out is $1,200.
Yeah.
And then just back it up, bro.
And Apple's finally done the right thing. They've replaced the word subscribe with followed in Apple Podcasts. It turns out, I didn't realize this, but according to Edison Research, 47% of podcast listeners thought when you press the subscribe button, you had to pay something.
That's the onboarding of new podcasters. And I think that's different, right?
New podcast listeners, you mean?
New podcast listeners and new podcasts. See, it's funny to us because we've been here for a long time.
And I've always said, I even say, subscribe. It won't cost you anything.
Yeah, it's true.
Because I realize people think subscribe sounds like you pay for it.
How many people can say that they're pushing 800 episodes? Not a lot. So you've been doing this for a long time. This is just one
show.
Right, exactly. Like if you go all the way back from the beginning, even before Apple's conflated podcast with the little white device and the spirally thing.
I hated that too.
We all hated that because we were all Apple people, but we're like, not.
Doesn't require an iPod.
You're not confessing, and you're making people think that they need an iPod. Yeah. But my original podcast listening came on a Rio 300, like little blue weird. I don't know where that shape came from. I don't know who made that up, but So unfortunately, I think that with the brand new folks coming and how many people I know just, anecdotally in my space that thought to this day you still needed an Apple product to do podcasts. I'm like, look at the dashboard on your car.
Here's the other thing that concerns me, though, and I wonder what you think about this, Doc Rock. Now they're going to say follow, but it won't automatically, apparently, this is in 14.5, so we'll find out, but it won't automatically download them then. It's just assumed that you're going to stream it. And so when you use Apple Podcasts or most podcast clients, you can subscribe, follow, whatever to a podcast, but you also have to say, or it has to be in your settings, and now download them. I guess people, because they're doing it on mobile, they just press play. I guess I did that today, coming in, listening in the car.
Yeah, I used to download everything, and now I download nothing.
I'm worried about that because we count downloads as,
so they're going to have to change the metrics, and I'll tell you why. Here's the reason why for me. Now that people are, the devices, you're making an executive decision how much memory you want because you're going to decide how much stuff is going to be in the cloud. The one thing that takes up the most space and everybody wants to give it credit for, like the anchors at the mall, are your photos, right? So the food court space gets smaller when the anchors are bigger. So as these superstores are getting huge, the mall is giving them all that space. So you're going to want people to hear the podcast, have it disappear so that it's not sitting there taking space, especially if you take a show like this, the video portion of it
it's huge.
A relatively large download, right?
Yeah.
Right. And it doesn't, unless you know how to go in and set your apps to delete after XYZ time and so forth, so on, et cetera. Yeah. Many people don't know how to do that. And so the streaming and with, quote unquote, fake 5G and all of that getting faster, the streaming experience is pretty flawless.
Advertisers are not going to like it because if I get a listen for somebody streaming the first 5 minutes of the show. They don't get a listen for their ads. They don't equate. And that's kind of a problem people have with numbers on YouTube right now, right?
Yeah, they're going to have to come up with some different duration and things like that. God. But, you know, yeah, it's kind of weird. I do think the idea of about listening is, though, here's where the downloads didn't match, right? There were times where you guys would get into a very good conversation about something, and like I was listening to it in passing, or I was being bothered by, say, the small person that's, you know. So what I would do is listen to it again. But see, I've already downloaded it. You don't get to know that I've listened to this 3 times.
Okay.
So in a way, it gets better.
I hope people do what you do.
On the murder mystery ones, for sure. If on the murder mystery ones, or even some of the political ones.
Maybe that's why they get so many. Maybe that's why their numbers are so high on the murder mystery ones. Because people are re-listening, you think?
Yep. Go back and double check facts, or listen again, or I'm about to make a purchasing decision and I'm trying to remember what was that pick that Andy said, because Andy picks are cheap and Alex picks are expensive. 6-7 Alex's. I need to figure out how to budget for it.
And one of the things is that, you know, it depends on what the telemetry is that you get back from the player as well, because we've had a lot of players where we get to see, I mean, even YouTube now, you get to see what people listen to, you know, in that, and when did they tail off, and what did they look like, and when they download it, you don't often get that telemetry, and it's super useful. Like we use it a lot to figure out, oh, that was a bad idea. Like this was, like whatever that was, we look at it like, what happened here? Why did everyone leave? Oh, okay, there it is, you know.
Yeah, I don't care about that. I start looking at that, I'm in deep trouble.
we look at it like just as input of, you know, what did we? And usually it's not something we said. It's usually
that can make you nuts. Because we had that information back at Tech TV days. TiVo would give you that information when they paused it, when they rewound, when they stopped watching, and it ends up driving you nuts because you get too granular on trying to program to the numbers instead of just doing what you want to do. And
I guess I found it as more of, I don't try to program to the numbers. I mostly just do what I want to do. But at the same time, it let us over time think about, you know, how we start shows and how we look at them.
Yeah,
and
that's
like,
valuable.
We would tell people like, oh, by the way, when you play those, when you do a slide deck, everyone stops watching.
Yeah.
Like you know, like they all stop watching when you do that. And
I remember a podcaster who had numbers like that, probably from Apple when Apple started offering those, saying, "Oh my God, we realized that we took 30 minutes or 5 minutes to introduce the panel, and everybody left by then. Yeah. So now we get right into the first story. On the other hand, still take 5 minutes to introduce the panel before our first story. So I've learned nothing from this exercise." Are you fellas ready for your picks of the week? Would you like to do those?
Sure. IR ready.
IR ready? Picks of the week coming up next. Let's start with you, Doc Rock. Your guest this week. What's your pick of the week this week?
One of my favorite devices in content creation for quite a while has been the little Røde Wireless GOs. These are basically a receiver and a transmitter.
Wait a minute.
Wireless.
What? That's a microphone?
Yes. Now, here's what's cool about these. Unlike a traditional lavalier pack, which I have many, the mic is built directly into the top. And so, you know, you clip this on your shirt, or I've even done crazy things like clip it right here on the hat, you know, and have a full-on conversation when I'm doing like a food
How's the audio?
Presentation. It's amazing. It's Røde. So I'll just leave it at that. Røde is extremely good at microphones. It's not, you know, countryman, but it's very good. Okay. Then this is the new guy. This is the Røde Wireless Pro 2, and you have it there on the screen. The advantage this brings to the table is there's actually 2 pieces, so you can get dual channel. So you plus the guest if you're interviewing, or a 2-person shoot. It can do built-in recording on the receiver. I'm sorry, on the transmitter. So that's in case you have a situation where the audio dies or disconnects, or somebody, you know, with an old, you know, push-to-talk cell phone comes in and ruins the audio. It actually can record those elements into the packs themselves, so you can download it and you won't have a broken audio. The range has increased. The connection capability has increased. The microphones have gotten better. and they've made the little fuzzy guys that you sit on the top that's sort of designed to keep them from making too much wind noise, aka dead cat. I normally don't use that word.
That's really a dead mouse. It's smaller. Yeah.
Yeah, feline people get really mad when you use that terminology.
I know.
But
that's why I use it, by the way.
That's what it's called. I'm sorry. So they made the newer version sort of not come off. So the Røde Wireless GO II right now, according to all the rest of my creator friends, are just screaming and raving. Of course, mine only got here recently because, well, Hawaii. But you know what? I'm not shoveling snow.
$300. It's not cheap. But now let me ask you, because I got to understand this.
Compared to lavalier packs, it is.
Yeah, that's not bad. You're right.
Lavalier packs are about the same or more.
Yeah. So you and your other person are wearing these.
Correct.
And then does it transmit to this receiver device?
Yes, and that lives on top of the camera. So,
does it go into the camera, or is it recording locally?
Yes, it comes with a cable, so you can jack it directly into the camera, but then you're also recording to the module
just
itself. Just in case something happens.
Oh,
and there is rumor that there is a firmware update that will give the little box 32-bit float. And I don't want to have another Alex and Doc moment, but just know it's better.
Now, I noticed B&H is offering it with lavalier mics. So you could plug a lav into the base unit.
I didn't show you that because my lavalier is over there on the back, but there's a little tiny puka. Sorry, I use Hawaii words. There's a little tiny hole right there.
Oh, I see the puka, yeah.
Yeah, so you can actually use a lavalier like a smart lav, clip it on, and put this guy somewhere else, like a traditional style lavalier as well. So it's, you know what it was? These were $200, the old version, and they're highly versatile for what they did, and they were great. And I used to just keep them as a backup in case my real lav went dumb, and then I realized I like these better. You know, because it's one piece, you charge it as USB-C.
Would the quality be better from the base unit or the lav?
The lav. Just because the mics are better, because it's slightly bigger, you know. In most cases, bigger mics normally do sound better. Not always. Sometimes they fake it. So the things that they've done with the dual channel wireless and things like that is absolutely incredible. And the other thing that I guess a lot of people wouldn't think of, if you only have one person, you can actually put both packs on them and pick up stereo.
Ooh.
Ish.
Ooh. And my sister-in-law does yoga, and she uses the first generation, and she's using a Samsung mic. It's like a headset mic, and it goes into that little pack.
So that's a standard. The Puku is standard.
The Puka, yes. You can standard. So you could throw on a DP, you know, what is it, a 446, or you could throw on a Countryman or any other standard lavalier. It's going to be an
expensive show, I can tell right now.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure Andy's going to come in like under $10 because he's good at that. He makes up for Alex and I going like way left. So it's a good balance.
This is I had no idea this existed. These are great. This is a great idea.
They're great. They're great. And now that we're getting our chance to go back and travel and things like that, it's also very handy for us creators on the road. What I bought it for specifically is I realized over my long career of doing videos and tech writing for TUAW and all this other stuff, I never really recorded enough like pieces to camera of myself talking. And I'm like, now that all these people are doing stuff, I wish I had more historical footage of myself. So I bought a tiny little rig. Yeah. Instead of using the phone, I got a little Sony ZV-1 and record yourself. Because when you look at it, like I got everything in Moleskine, but that's not the same. I wish I had video content.
When you're dead, you're going to want to know what you looked like before you died.
Yeah, so we could do the thing like Andy said and make the video.
Yeah, when you get to be my age, you want to know what you looked like when you were young and beautiful.
I'm pretty close, Leo.
Unfortunately, I have a lot of video of when I was younger and I was not beautiful, so the illusion is ruined. I far prefer not to know, to be honest with you. Really nice pick. I love that. It would work with any camera that had a audio mini jack in, like most DSLRs.
Yeah, but there's the key. So suppose you have a little camera or something that doesn't have one. You can even use it with an iPhone.
Yeah,
but
just record offline.
Because it records too, you can just stick the two together in any editing software now, sticking the audio and video together.
Just sync it up.
It's super simple.
Nice. Wireless GO II from Røde, R-O-D-E. Andy Ihnatko. I hope your pick is cheap.
$5 or free.
So I love it.
You know, see, that's why you're always thinking here. If you want to make sure there's some cheap picks, make sure that there's like a freelance journalist on there, because I got no money. It's
perfect.
It's perfect. So I just discovered this website and like collection of apps for iOS and Mac just last week, and I've been really, really loving it. It is the Animated Knots website. You go to animatedknots.com, and they are just tutorials on how to tie pretty much every kind of knot, including like surgical knots, horse knots, decorative knots, every sort of knot you could possibly imagine. And they're really, really easy to follow instructions. And it's sort of like it sort of gives you a power up, because I only learned chiefly because of the number of times that I went with my dad to the lumber yard to buy materials to do whatever project we were going to do. I only learned how to do like a half hitch and another kind of hitch just to like secure loads on top of the car. And I'm always known that, oh, well, isn't there this kind of an other knot for this application where it's holds securely, but then if you tug on one end of it, it just simply flies loose and you can easily undo it. And this will show you what that knot is. It will show you like all the common ways to tie a necktie. It will show you like ways to, like, if you need to like put a bind around a pot so you can hang it up, that's the way it'll work. And also it's just fun to like tie these knots, and it makes it really, really easy to follow. It's not a video, it's more like a stop motion thing. So as a result, it's very, very easy to like, okay, stop there. Where is that cord, end of that cord going? Okay, it's going around and behind, not around and through. Okay, I got it.
It's a lot easier than the dog goes in the ditch and then comes up over the loop and then the cloud forms above. And I can never figure those out.
I find the stories harder to remember than the actual
really
knot,
hard.
so they don't really work with me. And it's free. If you go to the website, it's free. They also have a $5 app for desktop and for the phone. I bought the app chiefly because it was one of those, I really want you to have some money. Please take some money from me because this is so cool. And also, I do imagine that at some point I will have forgotten all about this app that's like buried in a folder on my phone until like I'm in like a tough situation, like stranded with the car, and like, oh, wait a minute, I know exactly how to create a hammock knot because it's probably here on the website or here in the app. So if it might $5 to conceivably save your life, that's a good value in any denomination.
Really good. I feel like I'm a little less manly because I don't know how to do a clove hitch, so I'm going to go there today. Animatedknots.com.
I have to admit, I keep it around. You're absolutely right, Andy. I have another one that's called, I think it's Knots 3D or whatever, and same thing. I'll be somewhere and I just go, oh, I need a knot. Figure that. I need a knot, and it totally, having it on the phone is totally worth it. Like having a knot app on the phone.
Yeah.
This is a genius. Yeah, I forget all the knots we had in the military, in the Army, except for a couple. And like these are coming super handy. So this is super dope.
Yep.
I watch a reality show called Below Deck. And it's all about yachting. And invariably, I don't know why, every single season, there's some newbie who doesn't know how to do her knots. And the bosun is spending days, come on, you could do this, teaching them knots. So,
have you ever seen, has the YouTube algorithm ever shown you people who are just super experienced deckhands who are tying up a boat not by leaning down to the cleat and like wrapping it like that, by just simply standing up, flick wrist and you get a loop, flick wrist you get another contrary loop, flick wrist you get a third one that locks the whole knot. It's like, okay, it's like you're an airbender only with rope.
Yes, exactly.
That's crazy.
Alex Lindsay's going to wrap it up with his pick of the week.
I went the other way.
It's about an Alex. It's maybe two.
So I think I showed this earlier, but it's just such a great piece of hardware. I decided to make it a pick, an official pick, which is the ATEM, the new Blackmagic ATEM Mini Extreme ISO.
It's more mini.
There's more mini. So here's the I can actually so here's the. This is what's funny is this is very meta because it's the switcher actually sending. This is the switcher actually sending you the signal that is coming into it. So, so what they did is they added, of course, they added 4 more inputs, but they added a lot of other things too, a lot of buttons, which I thought there was too many buttons, and I found that there's not. It's just the right amount. Except I don't use any of the audio, so this whole section is not usable. The audio is not great on it still, but. What I will say is that they have super sources now. So the 4-ups and 2-ups and 3-ups can all be done out of here. And it is just an incredible piece of hardware. As someone who's been buying switchers for the last 15 years, the fact that I can buy this is It's $1,300. It comes with 8 inputs, super sources. It will stream. It has an encoder built into it. And it is, it just, there's so much you can do, with it, I think is kind of the crazy thing. And it acts as a webcam. It's like an ultimate webcam. Oh, and the last thing is it'll record all of these ISOs to an external drive. You can literally plug a USB-C drive into it, and it will record all the ISOs and save an XML file that you can open it in Resolve or Final Cut, and it'll all come in with all the ISOs and the edit. So you can just kind of fix your edit as you go. So if you didn't like the edit that you did live, you can fix it all later. And so it is it's just more of it. They added a couple of things that the ATEM didn't have, the smaller ATEM minis. I think I can compare them.
I can't buy any more ATEMs.
So this is, and to give you a sense of it,
I'm on an ATEM hold. My wife will let me.
This was the little one.
That's the mini, yeah.
Cute.
Yeah.
And I still use it. I don't have it hooked up right now, but but this is the big one. And so it definitely is it's a little bit of a beast. I have to print new. Right now it's sitting on, this is my Scorpio, which is, anyway.
That's a pick for another day, Alex. I've already maxed out my credit card.
So anyway, but just an incredible piece of machinery. I can't believe that, like, what we have available to us now to make
amazing,
content. Like,
it?
I was talking to somebody about making the TV. They're going to make a network about education, and I was like, it's never been better. Never been better time to do this.
Nope.
Do
you remember that as a Grass Valley switcher or as a Sony
$1 million
switcher?
Yeah.
I bought a Panasonic HS450 in probably 2008 or 9 for $26,000 that can't keep up. I don't think it would keep up with the switcher, and that was considered like the low end cheap, as inexpensive as it gets to do with those things. And it's got, it's got a green screen key here, and it's got a still store that you can load in.
It's
And
practically a TriCaster.
Upstream and downstream key. It has both in that.
Well, it's got tons of them. It's not just one. It's got a couple downstream keyers, a bunch of upstream keyers. It's got DVEs. It's got a lot of stuff in it. And again, it's a little. How
much is it?
$1,300. $1,300.
Just a little under 2 Alexes. That's not bad.
Yeah, and it. Again, it's a monster.
I want to show you, though, what we're doing. I have a mini, and I tasked Burke to put it in a Pelican case.
Oh,
so the lid will have a screen. The idea is that this is going to be a portable 4-camera switcher that I can just carry around in a Pelican case.
Yep.
So
that'll be.
This is in process, but Burke's doing a much nicer job than I thought. I didn't expect
Caleb Pike has a dope video on that. It's either Caleb Pike or Gerald Undone made a video.
That's exactly where we got the idea. Yeah.
It's so genius.
Yeah. So this will be in effectively a case this size. I'll have a switcher, a screen, everything I need.
We've built them into the 1510s in the past. Not with that little one, but that little one makes it really available.
Tiny.
We've built switchers into the 1510. You open it up and you got a big screen. And
what my imagination is that I will have 2 boxes. One will have my Skylink internet access for the boat, and the other one, this little thing, will have. And then I guess I'll have to bring some cameras too, and I'll be able to do the show anywhere.
I just realized that Starlink.
I'm going to Barbados, kids. See you later.
I just realized that Starlink is going to transform.
It's going to be amazing.
Cruises.
Yes.
Cruises always have no bandwidth.
Right.
I don't know if that's going to be good or bad. People are going to be like, now you can't get away.
Well, right now the Starlink satellite dish is it's a foot or two. It's big. It's meant to be fixed. It's not meant to be carried around. But I'm sure we'll get there.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
Welcome to the TWiT Network. I am Leo Laporte. This is TWiT on a Boat.
TWiT on a Boat.
The TWiT on a Boat. There, and we have a title.
I love it. Thank you, Doc Rock.
International waters, and I've already eaten 3 endangered species. Come and get me.
Exactly.
Those are our picks of the week. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We do this show every Tuesday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern time, because we have sprung forward ahead of the rest of the world. Apparently, it is now 1800 UTC. If you want to watch live at twit.tv/live.
Who do we get to vote?
I don't know. How do we get
vote for to get rid of I would literally, I'm a single issue voter. If someone said I'm going to,
Yes.
I could not vote for somebody who votes against. There's a bill going out, I think, to get rid of it, and I could not vote against. I could not vote for someone that voted against that bill because I would just think they're too stupid. They're not smart enough to be running to vote on anything else.
That's Alex Lindsay. Catch his office hours live. Starts around 5 or 6 a.m. The meat of the matter is 7 or 8 a.m. That's Pacific time. You can watch the recorded portion, but that's only a fraction of the total at youtube.com/Alex Lindsay. If you want a Zoom invite to watch to participate, that's in the comments of the YouTube videos.
Yeah, and the best part to register is just register so you get the email so you know what we're doing, because you want to know what, you don't even have to go to the Zoom thing, but when you sign up for the Zoom registration, you get an email every day of like, here's the agenda for the next week, and so you get a sense of what's actually happening too.
Nice. The man works insane hours, but it's by choice.
It's fun.
Thank you, Alex. Always great to see you. Andy Ihnatko, when are you going to be on GBH in Boston next?
Looks like my regular slot is moved up to Thursday because too many politicians keep asking for airtime on Fridays.
Damn them.
But Thursday at 1 p.m., go to wgbhnews.org to stream it either live or a few hours later.
Very good. Great to have you, Andy. And Doc Rock filling in for Renee Ritchie. Doc, this is your chance to plug a palooza.
Thank you. First of all, I'm going to build a time machine, go back and find George Hudson and William Willett, and then slap them around about this daylight saving time.
Yes.
Because Hawaii doesn't have it.
You guys are cool, man.
You guys move, and then I got to adjust accordingly. So I'm over it. Leo, since the last time we've been on, besides the YouTube channel, I had a wonderful life change. I am now the community manager for the eCam network. I mean, it's legitimate like paid job, so I am gainfully employed. However, if you want to learn more about that kind of stuff or live streaming or whatever, you can always find me on my YouTube channel or running the Facebook communities and brand ambassadorships for eCam. So that's what keeps me busy nowadays, and I just appreciate you guys for being here.
We could change your lower third if you want. It's a little late, but
it's all good. You can leave.
eCam. Micah uses eCam a lot. I think Rosemary uses a lot of our remote team during pandemic has been doing their own switching using eCam Live. It's incredible.
It is very incredible. And it works really well with something like the ATEM Mini or the ATEM Mini
Absolutely.
ISOs.
ECAMM.com if you want to know more.
That's correct.
ECAMM.com. They also have eyeglasses, which we've recommended before. This is a really smart way to stream. It's again, like you said, Alex, there's never been a better time to just be a broadcaster. Man, I kind of hate it. I'll be honest with you. You guys, you're eating my lunch here. Thank you, Doc Rock. YouTube.com/DOCROCK. We really appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, I guess I've said when we record. If you want a live version, you can go to twit.tv/live. You can participate live, chat live at irc.twit.tv. But really, I know it's a podcast. And if you want to download it, you can do that as well from our webpage, twit.tv/mbw. There's a YouTube channel dedicated to MacBreak Weekly. Yes, we count YouTube views. That counts. You could also get a podcast application and subscribe or follow. Either way, I don't care. Do whatever you want to do. I'll call it subscribe. It does not cost you anything. But the advantage is you get it the minute it's available automatically, so you don't ever have to worry if you've got the latest MacBreak Weekly on your phone or device. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you next time on MacBreak Weekly. Bye-bye.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you are interested in checking out all things smart home and Internet of Things, then you should check out Smart Tech Today, the podcast I, Micah Sargent, do with my co-host Matthew Casanelli. It's all about the smart home and improving your automations.